Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. What's up, everybody? Hello to the Gogletites, Goglings, Gogorifics, and all of those people. Welcome to episode 118 of Pen and Pixels. I am your host, Arvin Elleron, and I am very pleased to be bringing to you today another show based on story and narrative in games, and to bring you what clearly is the best game ever made, and that, of course, is Dungeons & Dragons with the GOG stream team as we continue our playthrough of Storm King's Thunder. Before we get to that, though, I do want to remind you about a couple of ways to support the stream, and that is as follows. If you haven't already done so, please make sure to follow GOG.com. A lot of wonderful streamers over here, many of whom you will say performing for your entertainment this evening. So please support the channel by following the channel. Please make sure that you support, if you can, by subbing to the channel as well. You can get a lot of awesome emotes, including those druid emotes that I see sort of floating all over the place. You can do that too. And of course, if you haven't already done so, you can also check out our individual streams, because we have a lot of streamers on here, each of whom have our own individual channels, the vast majority of whom anyway, have our own individual channels and play our own stuff, and we have our own Patreons and subsystems and stuff like that. So definitely make sure to check that stuff out as well so that you can support us, because that would be awesome, and we would love your face, as they say. So thank you everyone for being here, and I hope you were looking forward to some Dungeons & Dragons. Now, I feel the need to make some clear point, and so let me just do this. Boop. All right, hello everyone. It is a pleasure to see everyone. I hope everyone is doing well. And now I want to make something clear. Now, just before the stream started, and actually for this, I'm going to unmute myself only because I want the folks in my players to hear this as well. Just before the stream started, we were all sitting there talking with each other as we usually do before the stream, and then Moobot posted something. And what Moobot posted was that there was a game that wasn't quite as good as the game being played, but still pretty good, that was about to come on next, and they were referring to D&D. Now, I want to be very clear about this, chat. I have great respect for Outstar Walker. She is our fearless leader. She is the one who makes a lot of this engine go. She is a nice person. She's a very fine artist, and there are many things to admire. But one thing I want to make very clear is that she could not possibly be more wrong than claiming that any game on Earth is better than Dungeons & Dragons. Because the game that we are about to show you, ladies and gentlemen, the epic that we are about to demonstrate to you is going to unfold in your mind with such intensity, with such power, that you will sit there at the end of this 3-hour session to come and think to yourself, how did I ever exist before the watching of this game of epicness rendered before me by the spectacular figures of Darksaber, Tasty Chai, Screaming Joypad, and Pyron Jade? How did I live without this in my life? And the answer, chat, is I don't know. I don't know how you survived. I don't know how you made it. I don't know how you somehow existed before this game, but I'm here to tell you that we've saved you now. We are here for you. We are prepared to give you the greatest game ever made. Not druids, not random emotes, not very nice, wonderful people that are still completely wrong about this from Poland claiming that there are games better. We are going to provide to you the best game that has ever existed. And I think with that introduction, it is my great, indeed my staggeringly great pleasure to bring you, with an echo machine, to Dungeons & Dragons and the GOG stream team. That's what I'm talking about. Yes. That is what I'm talking about. What is going on, people? I love how I open up the screen and there's just dice all over the screen. It's just like dice everywhere. Like, that's proof. Oh, that's man. An
accurate representation of how this is going to go.
Woo! I am fired up today, let me tell you. I am very excited. I'm very excited. In all seriousness, I am very excited to play. I'm really looking forward to it. It is a good time, and thank you, Runder Winterkoff. I thank you very much. When am I going to do a series of the Mystery of the Druids? Let me see. That will be in the first of never, because Outstar Walker's doing it, which is fine. She can play with her video games, but we're playing the best game that exists. And you can see that from here. You can see it with Saber holding up the player's handbook. You can see it with, you know, Mike just said it himself. Tasty Chai has spent the whole last month being super pumped about it. And Pyron is definitely sitting there going, I don't know whether to be excited. Yeah, Pyron, I know how Pyron feels about D&D. So yes, they are all on board. And I am very excited to have a super enthusiastic crew of players today to play Storm King's Thunder for you. I will start as per usual with the person right below me in the column, but not right below us in our hearts. And that is Pyron Jade. Welcome, Pyron. I hope everything is well with you. Excuse me. How is life? And who are you playing playing today?
Life is fine, although I admit to liking different role-playing systems as well. Um, and I'm playing Gritter Goldenfire, Dwarven Cleric of Foltus. May his light shine on your way. Who just is very happy about apparently having a new party member, and but there's also a guy coming in right now who's very suspicious, so she might have to set somebody on fire, righteously, of course. But we will see.
Right. That is exactly right. We will see what happens with this person in just a minute. Yeah, and Mr. Zeno, that is not fluff in my beard. That's gray hair, sir. That's actually gray hair in my beard, which I'm told gives me a sense of it gives me a sense of distinguished quality. Supposedly, hopefully not. And if it was fluff, you just imagined what that fluff could be because you're using your imagination, not unlike Dungeons and Dragons. And with that said, I'm going to bring us down to the next person on the list, and that, of course, is Mr. Darksaber 2K, who has got his own player's handbook, and it is ready to go, and it is prepared, and oh man, look at that. Saber, how are you doing? Welcome, sir, and how is life, and who are you playing, sir?
I'm doing great. Thank you. Very, very happy to be back again with our new party member, Tasty Chai, along with the ride. You poor unfortunate soul.
You have no idea. Yeah.
We've been on fire. It's a lot.
Exactly.
I will, of course, be slipping into the hopefully less on fire shoes of Celsic Mauer, halfling. What am I at the moment now? I'm a rogue. No, I'm a ranger this time.
That's right. That's right. The ranger, right?
He's a ranger.
I
Yes.
think you can't just announce you're a rogue. I'm finding that increasingly as we go forward. Like, hi, I'm a thief. Why are you?
Why are you running away?
You can say expert treasure hunter if you like, as he rips off the Hobbit.
That'll work.
Yeah. It is I'm very glad to have Saber back. I actually have two rogues. One of them is in my so-called flagship campaign that's been running for a long time on my channel, which of course Mike plays in, and that is Cade Marbados. And it's interesting, Cade is a very different kind of rogue and personality in a lot of ways than Celsic is, but they both have that common element of, I mean, thief is such a strong word, really, that kind of thing. So it is interesting to see them both referring to that. But I am looking forward to seeing what escapades Celsic gets up to in this session. Moving right on down the line, we have, of course, the spectacular Screaming Joypad, aforementioned. Hello, Mike. How are you? I feel like I've just spoken to you recently, sir.
Yes.
It is good to see you. How is life with you, and who are you playing?
I am very well, thank you. It is always a pleasure to be playing Dungeons & Dragons. Literally the best game ever made. Now, what I am going to say is my internet is wobbly a little bit. So if I drop out or I go a little bit roboty, I do apologize. It's just the spirit of my other character, TikTok, which I play on R's other campaign, coming through my voice. So I apologize for that. If you don't already subscribe to R's channel to check out his campaign, go do it after this stream because it's fantastic and we're all involved in it. So who am I playing? Urash, the half-orc barbarian who has a particular delight in killing things in the name of Tempest, and an even bigger delight of not being on fire, and two, throwing himself into incredibly dangerous situations. So we'll see how this goes.
I am looking forward to seeing how it goes, yes. But at least we have no concerns now about which character is being played by which. Both characters are cool in their own ways, but no, very different. So, and then last but certainly not least, the newest member of the GOG Stream Team D&D group, and that, of course, is Tasty Chai. Hello, Chai. How are you? How is life? And who are you playing today?
Oh, I'm doing well, thank you. And I'm very excited to be here, as always. Very, very energetic, as always. I am playing River, a silver dragonborn who has been a hermit for so long she's forgotten how to society, and she's forgotten how to people as well. Mm-hmm. And she has an obsession with food. You could convince her to do anything for a ham and cheese sandwich. So
that's reasonable. That's reasonable.
Yeah, and her timidness is in stark contrast to the fact that she's a dragonborn and very tall. So it's all very, very silly. Just now joined the party and was convinced to go to the same area by the Harpers. She's unsure about her relationship with them, other than that she has been promised food, the delivery of which is still in question.
Yes, exactly right. And I'm looking forward to seeing how River actually plays this out. So this is going to be fun. I'm very excited for the session today. Now, will start the music, and then I will give a very quick summary of what happened. But before I do that, we do have an epic introduction from Echo Alpha X5, who's just sent us this thing, introducing the players in the, excuse me, the session. as I try to cough up a piece of lettuce, which goes as follows. As the road goes ever on and on, the adventure continues. Defining those travels as from the crossroads and the far beyond, we delve from the world of Middle-earth, previously seen on Arvin Elrond's channel, to the realms forgotten, known as Forgotten Realms, to the planet known as Aber Toril, to the continent known as Faerun. Upon it began an adventure for which 3 adventurers could not fathom what awaited them, and yet along the way on the hilltop was somebody lost and frightened. Together the party was forged, and the evil that is transpiring upon the lands of mere mortals shall tremble at their feet. Yet as time has progressed, we remind ourselves of who these adventurers are. Of the light of Foltest, Greta Guldenfire, dwarf cleric and follower of Foltest, may his light see you on your way. But beware, cross her, and there shall be a fond bonfire to rest at. Of the lurky shadows and the many inns and commerces, unlurks a shady-looking halfling, who yet with always such a grin and an eye for coins shall purchase their way out of any danger. None other than Selsig Mar, these are all exclamation points, thief, rogue, scoundrel, provider of a moral support, financial services to the party, thief, deadbeat. No, I just added that part in.
He
again,
is a ranger.
Yeah,
He's
exactly.
a ranger.
Ranger, Aragorn, yeah. Again, nothing proven. Shady merchant, Selsig Mar, all things to all people. And of course, his main class, he is a ranger. Not jesting, folks, I am actually. And yet, looking up there stands a gentle being half-orc barbarian with quite the temper, especially considering he is a follower of Tempest. But it is Ura-Ash, the tuxedo-loving and newly started arm-wrestling wizard. Again, I jest. And yet upon the hilltop there was no shout. We are not in Skyrim, for there came forth a rather slight silver dragonborn, which flew and flown by the name of River. Who is she? Find out more, for it is time for D&D with a full party. That's all caps. Coming upon us are many bunnies, eggs, joy, and goodwill, for soon it is Easter. With Easter comes spring. If not, well, go ask River to burn the snow. She finds it so tasty shy, and she will give us summer. But to all a merry and happy Easter. If you do desire to know many of the fine folks of the party, type in !host and or !party and enjoy the read. And let us not forget about the puppet master, storyteller, dungeon master that is Arvin Elrond. But enough of this, the adventure must continue. To all a happy Easter. Nothing can ever beat Dungeons & Dragons, for it speaks this quote wholeheartedly. What we do for ourselves dies with us. What we do for others in the world remains and is immortal. As always, Echo, wonderful work. Thank you, sir, so much. Very lovely. I am impressed. Thank you, thank you. And yes, let us get on to the best game ever made. And I want to start with this quick summary, if I can, of what happened in our last session. So I will start up the music here, and then we can do that. This was an eventful session for the party. The party has been trying to track down, sort of the large version, is that they've been trying to track down information about why the giants have been as essentially disrupted as they have been under normal circumstances. Normally, giants are someone's creatures that you don't want to cross, but they're not normally people that go wandering around and doing all this stuff and attacking villages and towns without cause. And yet that seems to be what has been happening over the last, let's say, 3 to 6 months, perhaps. And the party has been trying to find out information as to why. They didn't think that would be the case, but as they've gone into the adventure, it's become clear that there is something serious about the giants that they need to address. And so the party has gone through various paths and ways through a number of towns and villagers, including the town of Bryn Shander, where they gained some information about an attack upon the village that involved this thing called the Ring of Winter, a powerful artifact that the giants had wanted. They'd set out in search of this Ring of Winter with only several leads. One of the leads was that there was a Lord Roaringhorn, who was going to have a great ball and feast, a great dance, basically, down in the city of Waterdeep. The reason this is important is because the last time anyone saw the person who had the Ring of Winter, whose name I've now just lost, Sherber guy that I'll find out.
Simba.
And I'll find it. Simber, yes, thank you. That's
Artist
Simber. So the last time anyone saw Artist Simber, according to his son, he was headed down in that direction to spend some time with Lord Roaringhorn. And so Ura-Ash, having been provided with a tuxedo and the party having a invitation duly provided to them, the party set off on their way to try to get down to Waterdeep. However, the other lead that they got while they were out here was that there was a character called the Weevil, a bandit and thief of horrific reputation, as opposed to Selsig, who was completely, totally different type of character. But he had been asked for by several cities. He's one of the most wanted, basically. And two people had come and talked to Selsig and Urash about tracking down this guy, the Weevil, and said he might even have additional information for them. They managed to find the Weevil hiding out as this character mucking out stables, basically, at Xantharl's Keep. When they found him, they also found a group of goblin huckers, these huge ogres with catapults that shot goblins towards the walls, plus a frost giant and some other creatures heading towards Xantharl's Keep. But while they were occupied with them, a group of bugbears came in and made off with the aforementioned Weevil. The party managed to, with some good use of horses and some well-hucked Selsig by Urash, managed to track down these characters and stop them, and ended up heading back to the city. But when they got back there, the Weevil informed them that, one, he had no idea what the Ring of Winter was all about. Certainly he had never seen this, although of course he's heard of it. And secondly, that the two people that had come talk to Selsig and Urash in the first place themselves wanted the Weevil dead for their own unscrupulous purposes, having worked for the Zhentarim, according to them. And of course the party has had run-ins with the Zhentarim before. And so the party set off to the south to try to head back down to Waterdeep, hoping that they could deliver their prisoner, the Weevil. And they ran into a brass dragon known as Kalismana, who ended up dropping down to the ground, actually Copper Dragon, I believe, dropping down to the ground to meet with them. It was friendly. They talked to Kalismana. Urash felt like he might have felt vaguely familiar. This dragon seemed to him in some way. He wasn't sure why. And the dragon informed them, number one, that he'd be happy to take the Weevil back to basically over to, I think, Mirabar, I think is where he was taking him, to try to turn him in. I'm not sure if it was Mirabar or Waterdeep. Might have been Waterdeep that he was taking him to. I don't remember actually if it was.
Were we supposed to get him back?
He was flying on the back. Well, he was flying above. I didn't think that you just had him on. Did you just have him on the back for him circling around? I thought that he was. So. Okay, maybe that's all he was doing. Anyway, he was out of sort of the picture for the moment. I think that might have been what it was. Yeah, you didn't want to keep him. That's right. We're just down below. So he's flying up top on Kalismana. Kalismana also told them of a strange wailing noise coming from a deserted tower, this horrible yodeling crying sound, and also told them of this strange silver dragonborn that had been hanging out nearby and sort of overlooking this tower. And as they headed west, they eventually discovered Greta, Selsig, and Urash River, this dragonborn who, as she has already previously mentioned, likes food a lot, and explained that she was trying to go into this tower because the tower supposedly had this spot that was essentially teleportation, and that the Harpers had hired her to be able to find out how to get information about this teleportation circle and end up using it. So when the party went to, having taken the character of River on board, when the party got to the old tower, they discovered that it was actually a hill giant, Moog, who was upset because Chief Gub, the chief of the hill giants, had taken Moog's husband. And so Moog was basically here wailing her eyes out, eating, tubs of Haagen-Dazs. It was a bad scene. And the four party members managed to convince her that they would go and find and help her basically get her husband back. But first they had to do some stuff here. And her not being the brightest of things, hill giants are not particularly known for their overall knowledge and intelligence, she went wandering off, saying that she would wait for them to get to the king's place. And they entered the tower, where they found down below the floor an ancient room with strange ritual designs on it, basically looking like it might itself be a teleportation matrix of some kind. There was a chest in the middle of that as well. Selsig was then lifted up after having looked at this, was lifted up. I think there were also a few items that they got as well. He was lifted up to that floor, and as he was, a voice was heard from behind them, a man with a dark red beard and dark red hair, dressed in a cloak, sort of laughing broadly and talking about how wonderful it was to see all of them. He was standing there as they turned around to see him. And that is where we begin our adventure today, looking at this gentleman in the cloak and deciding what they want to do next. And so with that, I will hand it over to them. He has just said to you, "It's a pleasure to see all of you. We have much to talk about, you and I." And he is now sort of smiling and looking at all of you.
Well then, go ahead.
Let's see.
And And he says, "How are you, my dear?" Looking at you, River.
Hungry. Do you have my food?
And he says, "Indeed, I had thought you might be interested in that." And he pulls from underneath his cloak, he pulls several parcels, which are wrapped in some kind of brown paper and tied. And he says, "This is, of course, just a first installment, if you will." And he brings it over to you and hands the parcels to you. You smell something delicious. You don't entirely know, but there's some delicious smell of some kind of meat inside these parcels, nicely seasoned. And it's been a long time since you've had nicely seasoned food.
Well, I grab it frantically and then run off to a corner and start chewing on the paper to try to get at the meat.
Okay. So you run off to do that. As you do that, the three of you are left with him, and he smiles, just sort of shakes his head, sort of, "Oh, River," and looks back at you and says, "Well, I'm glad that you've been able to help River out in her quest here, and I appreciate you discovering this information for us. I can see that you've already broken through into the room below. If I may ask, what did you discover down there?"
Hello?
Hang on. Right, let's refresh my memory. So, just out of character, refreshing my memory, thinking aloud. So we got probably a teleport key, a bag of coins mixed types,
Right.
and the mysterious sword bracelet, which I gave to Urash because that just seemed like logical.
Right.
I'll just say it looked magical, way above my pay grade.
Mhm.
So you sent River on this quest, but you were actually just standing here all the time? Watching?
And he says, "Oh, I wasn't standing, my dear, but I was observing, of course, what was happening."
So who are you?
Not standing. Okay, so why did you not have a look yourself? I mean, this is...
And he says, "Well, I'm happy to talk more about that, but before I do, you're quite right. Introductions are well overdue. My name is Namas," and he bows low, his, very low, like, head almost, almost hitting the floor almost. His cloak kind of billows out to his left and his right very gracefully, and then he stands up again and he says, "And yes, it was I who hired River, let us say, or brought her into the cause, to be able to track down this information. As to why I didn't do anything about it, well, the truth is that we do want the information about this teleportation circle, but we also want to know something more about River." And his voice lowers a little bit, and he says, "You see, we think there is great potential in River, but we're not really sure yet, and until we are positive, we, wanted to see what things looked like in the field, as it were."
Well, if this was kind of your first test for the new apprentices, can't be that all important, right?
And he says, "Oh, many of these tests are enormously important. There are many threats, as you know, to the Sword Coast and to Faerun. We are, in fact, always involved in testing potential new recruits to the cause." And he smiles broadly, and he puts his hand on your shoulder, and he says,
On mine?
Yeah, he says, "Why do you think?" I mean, not in a creepy way, apparently. Just sort of.
Yeah.
I always do this way.
I'm not sure if you can do that in a non-creepy way.
Fair
but
enough.
fine.
He says, so he says that, and he says, "Why do you think I brought all of you here?" And then he looks over at you, Urash, and looks at you, Selsig, and it has been a pleasure to be able to see some of the ways you operate. Selsig, that little business of yours in the tavern was quite something, quite what we would expect to see from someone with a little bit of a lack of understanding of tact and care, and yet having that bravery that we look for in the people who work for us. And you, my friend," he turns to you, Urash, "you with that great strength," slaps you on the arm, "those muscles that could destroy some just by looking at them. Why, your quality is exactly the sort of thing that we need. We are very pleased at your progress, my friends. It's a great pleasure to have all of you here to be able to see you brought together, this team of heroes."
Yeah, I take a few steps
I'm
back.
super creeped out.
Yeah, not only you. I have this face of I'm readying a spell right now because this guy is not okay in some way.
And he sort of raises an eyebrow, and he says, "Oh my goodness, is there some confusion?" Thank you, Holy Man, for the follow. Welcome to GOG. He says, "Is there some problem, my friends?" Oh, I see. Perhaps you're concerned about my immediate arrival on the scene, perhaps.
No, I'm concerned about you being a bit touchy and very creepy.
Oh. And he sort of looks back. He says, "I apologize. I must remember that sometimes within this form I am somewhat prone to perhaps overreact, I guess one might say. My understanding is that humans spend most of their time hugging and slapping each other on the arm. Perhaps that's not true."
Humans.
Can I roll? Can I roll something to see
Do
if I
we have a human
that's
present?
enough. That's enough of this. Who are you? What are you doing here? What are you running?
That'll work. Yeah, screw rolling. Let's be direct.
There's no human present even. So that's.
He says, "Oh well," and he kind of looks down. He says, "Yes, that's true. I do need to make sure that I don't classify everyone in the same group." And he sort of is whispering to himself, almost like a mental note. They're not all the same. Yes. He said, "Yes. I suppose this would seem a little bit unusual to you. You see, well, I generally spend my time in another form, a form which is somewhat intimidating to other members of, the mortal races, let us call them. Sometimes you are concerned by the presence of people like myself, creatures like myself in that other form, and so I like to take human form to make myself more amenable to you, you might say. But I assure you that you are happy to do any detection spells that you wish, and you will determine that, of course, my intentions are always and only for good and for peace. I work, you see, for an organization known as the Harpers, and the Harpers are dedicated to the good of this realm, even if we recruit rather broadly and incorporate many different sorts of people to make that good happen."
Go on.
And he smiles and he says, "You see, each of you, we actually began to notice all the way back in Bryn Shander. It became clear to us that you had, something different about all of you, something which would be of great value to the Harpers. You see, there are deep, deep difficulties, my friends, deep problems which our realm currently faces, some of which you already know. Of course, the problem with the giants is primary in our concern, but the bigger issue is, why now? Why has the ordning, something which has held the giants together for literally centuries, taken this particular moment to fall apart? Our experience in the Harpers is that things do not happen by chance or by fate. They happen, almost always, because of someone tipping the scales. It is our belief that someone has tipped the scales to cause disruption to the giants. Why? Because disruption to the giants creates disruption for the Sword Coast. And so we have been actively pursuing some solution, some answer to these problems that we face with the giants and who is leading them, and we are recruiting adventurers to help in that effort. You have had direct contact with the giants. For example, the way you arrived at Bryn Shander might have seemed a little bit unorthodox, I think you might say, and the person who flew that castle upon which you arrived might have something more to say about it. We're very interested in that. We're very interested in all of you, your experience with giants, your ability to battle against the odds, your ability, most of all, to work together and to work for common purpose, even when that common purpose does not suit your own ends. This seems of great interest and value to us, and already many of you have made those sacrifices." And his eyes, Selsig, flicker down to your still somewhat bandaged hand, and kind of flicker back up, and he says, "Yes, some have given more than others, but all have given something."
And yet, throughout all of this, we haven't seen any involvement of the Harpers. It's been us that's been putting our lives and our safety on the line, not the
Obviously,
Harpers.
more of the Zentarim than the Harpers.
And he
How
says,
do we know that? Firstly, how do we know you're even from the Harpers? And secondly, what are you if you're not human?
He says, "Both excellent questions, my friend, and perhaps I can answer them in two ways. First, the reason that the Harpers have been, as you say, not acting is because we do not act in the open. But the reality is that many of you, and in fact several of you, might not have survived were it not for the intervention of the Harpers already. The Zentarim, for example, might not have left off their attacks upon Nightstone, and might not have been driven away were it solely based upon your own heroic actions, as heroic as they were. We were partially involved in trying to stop the Zentarum. We have also been partially involved in trying to send scouts out in search of you, to try to restrict attacks upon you when possible. We have been, to a degree, putting our fingers on the scale, our thumb on the scale. The difference is that we do so quietly, in the shadows, because it gives us the best chance to be as effective as possible. We have been fighting against evil for many, many centuries, my friend, but we do so without headlines, without a need for glory. Our work is behind the scenes, but is no less important for that.
And presumably without a need to inform those that you're aiding until an opportune moment when you can benefit and profit from it.
And he smiles and he says, benefit? Perhaps. Profit? No. Unless by profit you mean the salvation of the good people of this land. I understand you'd rather have things more direct and open, Urash. You've made that quite clear. And he again sort of admires your, rippling muscles and all that kind of thing. You've made that quite clear. But you must recognize that there are not just open attacks that happen. There are things that are secretive in the shadows that are being done to attack good people all the time. And you cannot defeat the shadows with light if you do not know where the shadows are. We do. We know where the shadows are. We are the ones who make them light enough for survival to happen, for the good to live on for another day. Without us, there would be no great battles to fight, my friend. There would be nothing at all were we not there.
That's what concerns me. Without yourselves, there would be no great battles, no perhaps great evil in the world if you weren't provoking it. Now, I don't know about my companions, but where I come from, if somebody approaches me and pretends to be an ally, they present more than just honeyed words. What else have you got with you?
And he sort of smiles. He says, well, for one, I have the fact that at any time during this conversation, I could have attacked and pray be hurt and perhaps killed all of you. I have not done so and will not do so, for my intention is not to harm you. In fact,
you smell like a spy, not an idiot.
And he sort of smiles and he says, your suspicion is well placed, my friend, if I may. And he sort of turns around, takes a few steps back, and so remember that you were at the outskirts. You basically managed to move this boulder out of the way, right? So there's this door, that's in this archway that's in this broken down wall. And he walks behind the archway. And then pulling out from behind the archway on the other side, he drags out this figure squirming in his ropes. And it is the Weevil. And then the man winks at you, leaps into the air, and you see Kalismana flapping his wings, and he flaps around and flies around several times. And for the first time, you realize that you had not actually seen Kalismana for the last half hour or so flying in the air. And he takes several circles and then settles down on the ground, and he says, "Ha ha, my friend, a much more open journey, I think. I would prefer to be in this form as well. Do you know how difficult it is to spend my time, no offense meant, of course, trying to understand the niceties of the mortal races? It is a difficult thing. And yet, for all that, I like all of you. I don't want you killed. I don't want you hurt. And there are some in the Harpers, my friend, who are powerful enough to keep that from happening. There are only so many dragons, and, well, we're rather big, you see. We can't get everywhere. But the Harpers can." And he descends and then, sort of still chuckling, "And so occasionally I take this human form and work with the Harpers in the cities, in the shadows. I'm perhaps not as good at it as I am in my open form." And he sort of grins, and there's just a moment of you sort of imagining his dragon mouth, even though it's his, human form that's grinning. And he says, "But nonetheless, I am working with the Harpers. And I must ask you, I cannot demand it of you, but I would ask you to trust me. I believe in this one," and he points over at River, "despite her seeming disconnection at times from reality. She has a power and a potential within her that she has not yet realized. All of you are the same. You, Greta, who wish to see the light of Foltus visited upon both friend and enemy alike, and yet the fire that burns within you is far more powerful than that which you use externally. You, Selsig, who pretend that the only thing that matters to you is profit and coins, and yet has demonstrated more than once that friendship you value more than either of these. And you, Urash," and he says, You most of all, my friend, a person that I am most impressed with, the one who will not stand down from a fight, the one who faces down frost giants, who accepts the possibility of death so that a better tomorrow can be visited on the people who remain. You, of all, have a potential that I admire the most because it is so open. But your potential is no greater than Greta's or Celsig's or River's. All four of you together can make a difference here, can stop the threat of the giants and find out who controls them. But it begins, my friend, with faith and trust. It is most difficult to do, but most necessary to enact.
You know, I think I know a little bit about faith, but still, I see you, my dear dragon. I see people like Sephiroth, and I wonder, all of you powerful...
Sephiroth! Sorry. Zephyros. It's okay. It's just too good.
As an aside, the minute this guy walked in, I drew my axe. Now I haven't been like wielding it around. It's been at my side in my hand. The minute that Calisana appeared, I put my axe.
I got you.
away.
Yep.
Okay.
And all you powerful beings, you're like, oh my god, there's a big problem in the world. Let's have these small people running around and see what they do. Oh, they're so cute. They have such great potential. It's so nice. Have you ever, considered like getting all of you people together and maybe solve these problems yourself?
Greta, you've never seen a tavern brawl escalate, have you?
He
No.
smiles and says, indeed we have. And I must say, Greta, that your words speak true, though they are coming from the perspective of a mortal life, and not one of our race. But yes, it is true that we should have done more directly in the past. But you see, my people have always, in a way, been individuals. It is difficult to get dragons to do anything together, and certainly, least of all, when they do not believe their own livelihoods and territories are threatened. There are, and in fact there has been time when such threats brought us together to fight for common purpose. I remember some of the people I fought with then. But for all of our memories, there are some that we do not spend enough time thinking of, the memories of the mortal races that suffer when we fight. I agree with you, but I am, as my people call it, still a relatively young dragon. I do not have the ears of those in the council. I do not necessarily even have the ears of others, and if they discovered that I was working directly with the Harpers, they would be most upset, especially Prothanter, that dear old ass. And he laughs. You notice that when he laughs, he has this very open kind of... It's the opposite of nasty, like it's really not very secretive. Like if there was anything around, they'd probably be hearing him make this booming laugh. And he says, the reality is, Greta, I cannot demand that you trust me. Only you can make that decision. But I would ask you, why would I spend this time trying to work with you if my intention was only to kill you in the end? Why not knock the tower down around your ears? Why not perhaps send you into sure death? Why not breathe fire on you from a distance? I didn't do these things because I believe in you, even if some of the other dragons do not believe in the mortal races. I do, and I think that you know this, or you would have already tried to set me on fire, no?
I did not want to say like that you set people on fire that you don't believe in. That's not what I was trying to say. It's more like you see that there's a problem, Sephiroth sees there's a problem, and at least you two could try to do something together.
Ah, you mean the dragons and the giants. Yes, but there are too few of the giants.
Like you.
Just
you
the dragons.
Especially, you personally.
Oh.
You.
I have done but I have already done this, Greta, by joining the Harpers. There are not many dragons who do so, and in fact, he kind of furrows his brow. There are no dragons who have done this before me. I'm the first one that I know of to have joined the Harpers. I'm doing what I can.
Okay.
And he says, besides that, do you know what else I'm doing to help?
No.
He smiles broadly. I'm commissioning you.
Look, I found freelancers.
He goes over to you, River, and at this point you've managed to basically, rip the paper off, and you're now chewing this very deliciously seasoned meat, which is it's very rare, just the way you like it, really rare. It's really good stuff. And he says, I hope you enjoy the food supplies.
Thank you. It's so good. Do you want? Oh, can I do another thing for more food? Can we do another thing for more food? I look at my party. Please?
Yes. Yeah. Why not? We'll get around to that.
I just want to take Greta aside quickly.
Yeah, I want to go with Celsius and Greta whilst Kalasmana's.
Yeah, let's go. I'm also on the going front.
Not going.
No, not going.
I
Not
have a
leaving.
word with you.
He says, take your time, my friends. I understand you have much to discuss. I am going to spend a little bit of time doing a bit of reconnaissance, if you will. Now that you've gotten rid of the unfortunate prior resident of this place, please take your time. Oh, and as he walks by, and he seems to be a little frightened. I noticed a slight smell emanating from him. I wonder if perhaps our flight made your captive slightly nervous. You can see the weevil's eyes are like, again, just straining, like, and he's like, so there might be a little cleanup to do. And he pats him on the head, pats the weevil on the head, and then takes several steps forward, transforms again into a dragon, leaps up, and begins to circle again.
Such a helpful dragon.
That's
Okay,
Sparkles. Sparkles
I'm on
is
board.
so cool.
I
wanna
understand
fly
where
like
you're
him
coming
someday.
from, Greta.
We've got all these powerful beings, and they're like, "Hey, you there,
But-
mortals, do the work."
We know more than any of them about what's going on.
We could tell them, you know.
What can we tell them?
not.
We have directions and places to go.
Yeah,
But-
it's not always easy for beings of that size and magnitude, even if they are in human form, to do what we do.
Can you imagine him at the ball at Waterdeep? I mean, even me in my outrageous money suit's gonna fit him better.
He's not gonna fit inside the banquet hall, that's for sure. He's kind of tall.
Exactly.
And he has food. Why would he do things? He already has the food.
That I have to.
He who
admit,
controls
that
the-
is-
Controls the party.
that is I think the best point that was made.
That's the most sense that's been spoken. in
Yeah,
this
that is.
conversation.
Why would he do anything? That's a good point. He has to.
From what I know, dragons of his color aren't evil, and they're not bound to be evil. Strange, yeah, but not evil.
I'm not saying that it is
read
evil.
that.
I'm just saying it is lazy.
Okay, you got me there. I can't.
There's this whole objection to everything. That's just lazy.
Where is the work ethic?
I mean,
See the change we want to see in the Forgotten Realms.
But he doesn't need to work. He already has the food.
Copper Dragon, more like Arthur Job.
Bye.
So now the dragon found it funny to just tell her, "Hey, although you're my employees, let's see what you do." I mean, this are all the dragon people and the dragons a bit loopy? Is it that?
Most of them would probably eat us. I think we're ahead of the game here.
I think a number of the dragons, as far as I know, from what I've been told when I was young, a lot of the metal dragons are just a bit crazy, to be honest. It's the
Well-
solid colored ones you want to watch out for, but I think the metal ones are all right. Like I
We
said,
had-
Still got the same compared to
they've
some
been
of them.
dropped on the head of it.
We had one dragonborn that pissed on me. We had another one who was eating flowers, and now this dragon. I mean, something is wrong there.
Like
Hey,
Casey-
hey now, flowers are delicious. You don't
Yeah.
understand. They taste like buttercups.
You see, you are making my point for me. All a little bit loopy.
Okay, so
I'm differently sane myself.
differently said, yeah, that might be.
Differently saying.
So we will now
That
listen to
is.
whatever this dragon has to say, which will be more work for us in exchange for food for River. And
Think about it. If we do some stuff for Kalasmana, we have not only Kalasmana on our side, essentially on our side, but the Harpers as well.
And they're gonna
we're
have
still doing the work for
We're
them.
gonna have a circle that goes places. What if you want to use the go places circle to go places faster?
That's a very good point.
We don't even know how that works.
I
You
always
stand
figure
on
it out.
it.
You know,
Stand on it.
other people could go places faster by flying. Some have flying towers.
you
some
fly?
naturally-
I bet you.
She can fly, but not voluntarily.
Yeah.
Well, I
Depends
can't.
how my throwing arm's doing.
Then the landing's a little rough then.
Yeah. I don't know. He stuck the landing last time. It was on horseback as well, I think.
I was.
No, I can't fly, so I like the go circles. That go.
Where do you want to go?
I don't know. I want to go where you go.
Okay.
You seem nice.
Yeah, we are also very good at providing people with food. We've done it
Oh,
before.
I love food. Do you like food?
I like food.
Food
this
is good.
whole this whole thing feels a bit bigger than us, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, I like this sort of stuff. This is the kind of stuff that I was brought up on. This is the kind of stuff that around the campfire, our tribe leader our tribe leaders and elders would tell us stories about heroes and all this sort of stuff. This is the kind of stuff I was brought up on. So, firstly, I kind of want to know what, big copper dragon dude's involvement is in this and what he can offer us if we are going to carry on, because we're going to carry on our quest.
We have to care. If these powerful beings are not doing anything, we are the ones who have to do something.
Exactly.
It's
We
just
are the
like
ones
that.
to do this sort of stuff. And if we don't get involved, I don't see anybody else going around fighting giants. I mean, yeah, fair enough. The Harpers might be doing stuff here and there. They might be tipping the scales in the shadows, as they say. But how much direct involvement have we seen? Were they at Bryn Shander when it was getting pummeled by stones? No. Were they digging people out of the rubble like we were? No. Were they helping putting out fires? They might be in the shadows helping us surreptitiously. It's a big word for half-orc. But it's a humongous word for half-orc.
Did you eat
That was a very big...
Make a Constitution save.
But they may be doing this slyly in the shadows, but if they're not the ones directly involved on the front line, going toe to toe with the ice giants or any giants, we have to be those people. We have to be those.
Whoa! What's all this about front line, toe to toe?
Well, you be in the back. You're the
Oh, all right.
ranger.
I think that was
Okay,
like,
you scared me for a second there, big guy.
Also,
I think that was figuratively.
figuratively, yeah. Well, we're the ones that seems to be getting our hands dirty. That I can see. We're the ones that are constantly attacked by stuff. Yeah, the Harpers
Nearly
might
dying.
be helping out. Yeah, exactly.
Sleeping outside.
But he's got a good point. I, for one, am willing to put my life on the line if it stops this great evil, and if it helps tomorrow be a brighter day for everybody else. That's what I was raised to believe.
I'm with you there all the way. I'm still very disappointed in the lazy, powerful beings.
Dragons be dragons, bro.
Trust the gods.
Also, and I'm going to point over at River. I want to know what's special about her, other than the obvious.
Oh, it's that I have
digest
meat.
paper.
Now. So
'Cause if it-
good. You want some? You can't have any. It's mine.
No, I'm good.
Don't do that to an half-orc.
Can you-
I'm reaching away from this barbarian right now.
I want to know if she's of such interest to a dragon and an organization like the Harpers, if they are as powerful as they say. I know very little about them. I've heard their name a couple of times, but if she's with us, then we can at least protect her. If she's not, and Kalismana's not around, who knows who could get their hands on her?
River, can you breathe fire?
No. But
Don't you
sometimes when I breathe, it gets really cold. It's very chilly. It's not good.
That is very useful.
Is
know-
it?
Yes, you can keep food fresh.
I love food. I should do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm also
Yeah.
King amongst us.
I don't like freezing the flowers.
So I'm in.
Yeah. We don't have a choice. If they don't do anything, we have to do something.
I would quite like to bed down without having to check under the bed for a giant. Metaphorically speaking.
Also,
Yeah.
sounds like I've heard that dragons have a hoard, so maybe they're willing to pay us.
To be honest, if they're not going to get directly involved, we need something. We need some sort of resource, some magical weapons would be really nice.
Yeah. Give us stuff.
Dagger, an axe of instant giant slaying, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, surely
Yeah.
a dragon's got that, right?
And he says, "Funny you should ask that." And you turn around to see
Like,
he's
"Oh my
back.
God."
Yeah, exactly. Ta-da! But he's not dragon form now. He's in human form, just walking through the door.
Hi, Sparkles.
On the way by, he smiles at you, River, and he pats the weevil on the head. Again, the weevil is just
No, touchy.
He comes over and to you and he says, "Yes, I hope you've had a chance to chat. I didn't mean to eavesdrop, but I caught the very tail end of that. You'd like to know how we can help you. And the answer to that is, we have several ways that we can help you if you're willing to do something for us, which I will explain in just a moment. The benefit to you, I think, though, might be obvious." And he gestures down towards that spot below the floor. "What you've discovered down there, Selsig, I believe, had a series of odd designs, you might say, on it, yes?"
Yes. Definitely the sort that I did not want to poke.
Probably wise decision on your part, my friend. What you're looking at down there are a series of teleportation circles. There was, back in the ancient days of Faerun and the Sword Coast, a series of teleportation networks put together by a network of wizards. This network allowed people to travel great distances simply by knowing the keyword, the sequence, and then being able to travel from place to place. There are great benefits to this, as you might imagine, and especially if we are to be able to move throughout the Sword Coast freely, to be able to fight this evil, and right at the moment, to be able to determine what is going on with the giants, having a teleportation circle would be of great value. The problem, of course, is that many of these places are still guarded, and we have only been able to command several of them ourselves. As we discover these teleportation circles, we have attuned them to our magic, and we now have them under our guard. As a consequence, there are several of these circles which already exist. You have just found a third for us, for which we are, of course, most grateful. This thing would allow you to go to one of those teleportation circles, and the more of them you open up, the faster you will be able to go. And the farther you'll be able to go. He says, "For example, I believe you had said you were headed down to Waterdeep. I think you'd be interested to know that this teleportation circle right there will lead you directly into Waterdeep. It is one of the teleportation circles which we already possess. A second one is in Neverwinter, a place which of course is considerably to the north by travel, but not of course by teleportation. The other ones are yet lost, and if you're able to find other of these teleportation circles, every one you find we can attune to our magic and will eventually allow you to travel across the realm. A version of fast travel, if you will," he says, and then smiles, and then makes a quick wink at the camera and says, "Fourth wall broken." So he says that, and he says, "This, I think you would agree, would be of great benefit to you, and you will have access to it. You will also have access to some of our networks of people who would help you more directly than I've been able to, with an occasional healing potion perhaps, for people who might be able to put you up at an inn for free, people who might in some circumstances be able to aid you in a fight. Perhaps you would know of it, perhaps you wouldn't, but you might find that very tight situations are made a bit easier because of your association with the Harpers. But that, of course, my friends, is the one, if you will, little snag. I do not understand the value of this, but the mortal races and the ones who run the Harpers have made it very clear to me that this is very, very important. To use the Harpers network, you need to, well, become a Harper. It's the only way that you can actually use the network safely. Now, I know that this is a big step, and I understand that you don't want to commit completely before you know more about our organization. So I would propose that I include you in the Harpers on a trial basis, if you will. We've already begun this trial with River, and we think that she has demonstrated her ability to pass this test. But we are not yet certain of her, nor are we completely certain, of course, of your full commitment to our organization. What if we were to make you, let us say, provisional members of the Harpers? We would give you access to the teleportation network. We would give you the ability to have access to some of our resources, let us say, across the Sword Coast in Faerun. And in return, you would help us with certain tasks, ones that you would be likely to do anyway. Right now, you are trying to find out more about the Ring of Winter and the Giants. That is exactly what we would like you to do. Find out more about the Giants and about how the Ring of Winter ties in. So, in a way, our goals are aligned, if you were to join our organization, that is.
On the subject of the teleporters, I want to pull out that amulet, which was, if I remember right, it had exactly the same symbol on, didn't it?
Yes, that is correct.
Yes. Is this linked with them in any way? I say, holding it up.
He says, yes, you can see here and here, and he points to several of the circles, and you can actually see on the map that there are several circles that it corresponds directly with that map, but you can see on the amulet that there are several of them which seem to be brighter and basically glowing. And let me actually see if I can pull up. I thought I had this picture already, but maybe I don't, and I just lost it. So give me a second here.
At the very least, I found a sweet nightlight.
Yeah. Woohoo! Okay. Okay. So he looks at the he looks at that sequence and says, yes, indeed. And then there we go. As I'm actually trying to extend. No, I don't want that. Give me the damn image. I had the image like 6 times, and then Google's like, here, why don't I take you to this page that has nothing to do with the image? I'm like,
oh yeah, they've changed image search. It's a pain in the ass.
Bloody image. This there, right here, maybe. Show me the thing with the red. There we go. Haha, success. Okay. So I'm gonna put this up on OBS so we can take a look at it. And he's looking at the image, and then he says, yes, indeed. And from the folds of his cloak, he pulls forth. Okay, there we go. From the sorry, I didn't do this with studio mode, non-professional streamer mode on. Here we go. He brings out this note, which basically says this scroll, and unrolls it, and it basically says Harper Teleportation Network on it. And he shows you, as you're looking at it, you can actually see it on screen.
It's HTN.
He shows you the look of these circles. You can see that there are basically 6 circles, which are more or less like some of the circles that you saw on the map below. One of those circles actually corresponds, you might have noticed, Celsig, to one of the things that you saw on the ground. And he says, each of these circles corresponds with a different section. This one down here, and he points to the bottom left, this one here leads to the one in Waterdeep, and the circle in the amulet that you have is triggered by that. It is, if you will, active with those 2. Each time that amulet, which is a key, is kept within one of these teleportation circles, it will activate and then be attuned to it, so that from that point forward you can travel to any circle, to anything that this amulet is attuned to. At the moment, there are only 2 that it is attuned to, or 3, I should say, with the discovery of this one: Neverwinter, Waterdeep, and this circle right here below the floor. As you find others, more will be attuned. He said, there's one other thing I wish to note. You notice that it says up here, and he points to Neverwinter, and he points to these others. You see these things that say Everlund, and Loudwater, and Yarder? These are all correspond to actual places within the Sword Coast. We have sent agents there, but they have not been successful in actually discovering where these circles lie. One of the things you could choose to do is try to find more of these places if you wish. However, that is, as we were, not the main goal that either you nor we were looking for. We do have the giants to consider, but this would speed your journey. So if you happen to be near one of these areas, and you can take some time and find one of these circles, it would, I think, make your journey somewhat easier going forward. In any case, that is up to you. This amulet, as long as one of you is wearing it, will teleport all of you within the circle to the place that you press, the symbol that you press upon this amulet. And you can see, as I said, the different lists that are there.
I'm calling Keeper of the Amulet.
He says, these are very valuable, my friend. Be careful. I wouldn't want to see you, for example, sell it for any discernible reason.
Hey, you can't put a price on a quick getaway.
Go ahead, Greta.
How much stuff can we teleport in a teleport circle?
He says, anything that is with you and on your person. Now, if there are extra things, wagons and horses, that's somewhat more unclear. We don't actually know how much exactly. We do know that anyone who is in the circle and anyone who is touching the person holding the amulet will be teleported. How much that refers to in terms of other sort of matter, we don't know.
Oh, what is with the poor kitty?
Oh, sorry, my cat's. She got spayed, so she can't lick her stitch. So that's why she has the cone on.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So she's adorable right now and kind of awkward. Sorry.
No! Kitty break is the best break.
Okay. I'm trying to get her to stop bumping the microphone. I'm sorry.
That's fine.
Okay. So maybe if I'm sitting on my pony.
How you can get your pony down the person-sized gap
he
in
says-
the floor?
He says it's possible as long as whoever has the amulet is in physical contact with the creatures that you are transporting. It should hopefully work. Although he looks a little bit. It should, in theory, like kind of like Christopher Lloyd in Back to the Future. It should maybe work, possibly.
What happens if it doesn't work?
Well, then I suppose we'll have a pony by himself here, won't we? But I'm sure we'll figure something out.
I lick the teleportation key and grimace because it's not delicious.
Yeah, it definitely
And
is
you can-
not.
you can
I
keep
always
that.
wanted to have a pony.
We can get you another pony.
He also suggests that, it is possible that it will work.
So it's worth a shot. Right?
I bought this pony. It's coming with us.
The other teleportation circles, the one in Waterdeep and in Neverwinter, where are they in relation to the town? So do we like pop up in somebody's basement or?
He says that is an interesting question. The
Yeah.
Waterdeep Circle is located inside a raised crypt within Waterdeep's Great Walled Cemetery. It is called the City of the Dead. The crypt has 2 levels, and it is well guarded. Obviously, we don't want anyone else to know about the presence of these circles. But again, it should be fine with the command word that I would give you.
Okay, and the other one in Neverwinter?
And the other one in Neverwinter is actually on the floor of an attic. It is in this creaky old 3-story row house, which we use as a meeting place. And of course, each of these has guards and minders. That is much more within the center of the city, of course. Rather an out-of-the-way street, I believe. I've never actually been to the Neverwinter one. Well, I have been, but not in this form. And he grins.
Attic is the opposite of the cellar, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, attic is the top, sort of most, opposite cellar.
So maybe I will have to leave the pony behind.
I don't think that it is that small, but it's not a huge attic either. Yes.
Yeah, but it's really hard to get a pony down a ladder.
He said, that is true. It's not, I imagine it's very difficult.
That sounds getting it up.
Ponies are very difficult sometimes to travel
Yeah.
with, to eat. He's like, not that I've done that ever.
We take
Of
the
course.
pony.
Right.
Of course, my eyes get as wide as saucers. You can eat ponies.
No, you cannot eat the pony.
He says, under certain circumstances, I have heard that ponies are delicious. And he,
You can only eat a pony if it's already dead, okay? You cannot eat a pony that is still alive.
And you can't kill the pony.
Oh.
and the pony behind you is like, nay.
What
Okay.
What if we have that guy? I point to Urash, who's tall and strong. Carry the pony down the ladder.
Yes. I 100% support this suggestion.
He says, of course, the question is where you'd want to go having access to this. I understand that your plan was to go to Waterdeep, and this would certainly be a way to speed up the process. He says, but of course, either of those circles would be available to you. We would give you some freedom to determine what would be best suited in tracking down the problem of the giants. Though, if we do come to you with a specific task, we would ask that you do the best that you can to preserve and follow the Harper's honor by maintaining that task, but we would try not to do so except in extreme cases. Either way, before any of that is possible, we should ask, do you wish to accept our offer of provisional Harper membership?
Question.
Certainly.
So what were the specific terms of our provisional membership?
He says, well, let us call it a trial membership for us both. You will be provisional members of the Harpers. We will do what we can to help you as if you were full members of Harpers with certain differences. You would have, of course, no rights to large meetings of the organization or anything of that kind. You would not be given great information about the leadership structure. Apparently, you mortal races seem to think that there are these issues of, what do you call it, security. I don't know what that means, but apparently that's important for all of you, so you would need to be kept in the dark about that. However, you would still have the benefits in many cases of being a Harper. In turn, we would be evaluating you to see whether or not you are worth the process of being made into a full harper. And you might say, would be evaluating us. Is it worth being a part of this organization? Do you find it of value to you?
So, if we're not agreeing to be provisional harpers, you will not help us save the world?
Perhaps let us say you would have to save it in a different fashion. These are not my rules, you must understand. If it were up to me, we would go directly and deal with the giants one-on-one. But I must admit that the Harpers have often made the point that such direct advances have led to problems, as in several cases where our emissaries were killed by the giants, so I suppose there might be something to that. He seems rather disgusted for someone who's very seldom anything other than happy.
Thus far, we have been mostly clueless about what's going on. We've just sort of been vaguely heading in the direction of Waterdeep because we have some vague notion if there's a ball that was supposed to go there. It might be good to have some resources at our disposal. People who might be able to give us information from, even just as and when they get it.
And we might also need a good outfit for River. Because River, there might be a buffet.
Yeah. Is there a members discount store?
He says, we would certainly be able to give you information about discounts for merchants somewhere around, indeed. Membership does indeed have its privileges. Also, you have this handy Harper emote to use. No, that's just kind of all across Twitch. Yeah.
I have additional questions.
Certainly. I'm here to answer.
So how long is this evaluation period?
Well, let us leave that somewhat open-ended, shall we? Several weeks, I would say, was probably what would be necessary. And I should say, it's not entirely up to me. I am not the Lord Chief Harper, although, of course, I am the only dragon who is one.
So you would get a sizable vote in that distinction?
Oh, I think so, insofar as you're rather a pet project of mine. Oh, please don't take that the wrong way. Of course, you are your own person and very much not at all a student of mine, but, well, I feel somewhat protective of you. All of you have done some good work, and it's been difficult at times to see what you've gone through without being able to do more. But there is a larger purpose at stake, I'm always told.
I feel simultaneously comforted and threatened. I like this guy. So Celtic raised a really good point a minute ago. We have been largely in the dark in regards to what's actually going on. We've gotten very little information about our overall place in this quest, in this design, if you will. Are there any other organizations like the Harpers that you know of that are involved? Do the Harpers know what's going on with the giants and the ordning?
He sighs and says, not nearly as much as we would like. Of course, there are no giants who are Harpers, and it is difficult to infiltrate a group of people who are all, well, on average 10 to 20 feet tall. We don't have a lot of those people just sitting around, you realize. So the information we have has generally been external. We know that the giants have been acting in a strange, aggressive way, something that they used to never do to this same degree. We also know that many of them seem to be acting to unified purpose, to sow disruption, to create dissent, to build terror within the people of the free world and of the Sword Coast and the North. And some of what we've been able to see indicates to us that the giants are being directed in this somehow, but as to who did it is unclear. We know there is some disruption at the top. The ordning, their governing council, has somehow been undercut and broken, and so whoever it was that used to lead them is now no longer in charge. But the giants are so secretive, and it is so dangerous to gather information, that we have not yet been able to discover who was behind all of this, or whether it has any intended endpoint. Either way, it means that we are somewhat in the dark ourselves.
But surely the Harpers
have what we know.
Yeah. But surely the Harpers have ideas. There's a lot more Harpers than there are bands of adventurers wandering around in the Northlands.
Indeed. And he says, in that case, let me show you this map. And he pulls out the other, let's see if I've got that over there. Okay, we're on the Sword Coast map already, so good. So he pulls out the other, another scroll and unrolls it. And it's basically a map of what you guys see here. So I'm going to zoom out here a little bit. All right. Now we see the entire map. Actually, wait. Chat doesn't see that. Chat sees the other thing laid on top of it. Hold on a second, chat.
Yeah.
There we go. That's better. Okay. So he says, you see the familiar site of basically the Sword Coast, right? You have down here in the south, and then Baldur's Gate, and then all the way up here to Icewind Dale, the Endless Ice Sea, the Sea of Moving Ice, the Spine of the World. In between here is where the Sword Coast is, as you folks are familiar. And he says, we don't know a great deal, but we do have several leads. It's clear to us that there are several places scattered across this map that have, well, information about giants, or at least we know the giants have been active. Now, we don't know the details about this, but if you were to go to some of these places, perhaps you'd be able to gather some of that information, and perhaps that information would be of value. We don't really know, though, to give you more information about specifics. It's more general details. For example, this thing in the middle, and he points to right here, which is the High Forest. This forest, of course, used to cover most of the known world, and you guys are familiar with the High Forest. You've heard about this before. Used to cover most of the known world. It covers, obviously, considerably less now, but it is still an impressive place, and many people who go in to investigate the High Forest never come out. There are mountains rising out of the top of this, and several other places which have some qualities to them. We don't know the details, but we have heard that there are information and clues that you might be able to find in some of them. For example, and he highlights a spot right here. Okay, you guys see that ping where I just made? He says, this is called Shadowtop Cathedral. Shadowtop Cathedral is a place that is guarded by the denizens of the forest. They have a great deal of ancient wisdom and knowledge, but we have not heard from Shadowtop Cathedral for some time. It used to be in the old days that this was not a cause for concern. Many of the people who handle it, for example, are themselves treants and druids, characters who are rather solitary by nature, let us say, and suspicious of civilization. Nonetheless, in times like these, any silence is cause for concern. So it is possible that there's information here. We would need to find out exactly where. And then he says, then of course we have this, and he goes all the way down to, where are we? Yeah, here we go. He goes all the way down to here. Here we have the southern tip of the Grey Peak Mountains and the marsh of Shalimber. The Grey Peak Mountains themselves, of course, are well known to be dangerous and difficult. And in the old days, these Grey Peak Mountains were particularly dangerous because of the giants who lived within them, gray-skinned stone giants. It is riddled with abandoned mines, and we know that there has been more activity by the giants of late. Why is this a concern? Because some of those giants have come from those places and attacked nearby villages and towns. Parnast itself, and you guys can see Parnast is right here, and Lork have both come under attack from these giants. That suggests that there's something going on here, though as to what exactly it is, well, that we're not clear about. But in any case, it is something which one might want to investigate further. Of course, you have your own information about Waterdeep, which you could follow, but there are other examples. For instance, and then he goes down to this, all the way down here, to the Sunset Mountains. He says, here we have the Sunset Mountains. Down here within the Sunset Mountains, not as dangerous as, for example, the Great Peak Mountains, but down here in the Sunset Mountains are several places, including a marsh, the Marsh of Toon. This marsh, at least in the ancient days, covered over a wizard's graveyard, a place where wizards themselves would sometimes be brought to die, because there was a great knowledge and wisdom of wizards that was maintained here. There may, in fact, be still tomes and information here, ancient beyond counting, and if you were able to track down some of these books, it could give you more information upon the giants. Many of these places throughout the Sword Coast might provide clues to you, but these are just a few that I'm thinking of to begin with. Okay, so as my companions can obviously stop me if they think this is a balmy idea, but you said it yourself, you are not the highest ranking Harper, but you are the only dragon, and presumably you have a great wealth of knowledge in regards to these kind of attacks and these kind of events. But well, I would like to think so, yes.
Absolutely. I think as part of our internship, if you will, into the Harpers, then we should have, once we're finished with our business in Waterdeep, we should have a meeting with some of the Harpers there so that we can further examine some of this information and get some more information about not only these attacks, but also a greater picture of the wider view of what the Harpers actually know and what they suspect to be the cause of all of this, and also any other thoughts and theories that they may have. And I'll look to my companions to see if there's any additions or arguments.
I'm busy looking at the pony. I'm not really paying attention.
I'm busy looking at.
That pony looks good.
I have said my thing. I'll see where this is going.
I think getting more information on this is a good thing.
More information's good, yeah.
And as far as I know, as soon as we've got and I'm saying this just to my party members now, as far as I know, as soon as the ball's out of the way, we haven't got anything, other than the marauding giants, particularly time sensitive.
Yeah.
Right now, we kind of know what's going on, but we've got very little information. We've got storybook level information. That's it. And it just feels like if we're going to put our lives on the line for this sort of stuff, we need to have a lot more info. And if the Harpers know it, then maybe we can twist their arm a little bit and let them let us in on the secret.
I mean, we've got one solid lead, and that is on a hard time limit.
Yeah.
So basically, Urash, you shall go to the ball.
He says, I should also say, by the way, that Neverwinter itself may be a source of some information, too. Of course, you have Waterdeep, but there is Neverwinter and the monastery right near it, Helm's Hold. Both of these places are of interest, I think, because Neverwinter is one of the places where the hammer would fall first. If there is some larger conspiracy, some attempt to destroy the civilized aspects of the world, well, I know from personal experience that there have been times in the past when creatures, perhaps even dragons, looked at some of the cities with interest. Certainly Waterdeep, Baldur's Gate, Luskan, but most of all, Neverwinter. The city which, of all of the jewels of the North Coast, shines the brightest, and at times could have been the most difficult for evil to defeat. Neverwinter could be one of the places you would wish to check as well. But again, this is up to you.
Well, we've got our fancy fast travel majigger. we can literally, we could be at Waterdeep and back by tea time.
Shiny circles.
That is true.
That's why we need to be their friends, because they have go circles.
Go circles, you were right.
Is River
And
still?
as the Lord of the Go Circles, I say we do it.
As the keeper of the Go Circle amulet.
Is River still eyeing my pony?
Yeah.
What pony?
River, it's not dropping dead.
No.
No, there is no
might be
pony anymore. There's just
It's a very happy and healthy pony.
might be
It's not
sick.
dropping dead. No.
What if
It looks sick. I got better. You're not fooling anyone. Oh, man. So he says...
If
So,
you turn around, it might fall over. We don't know.
so Namas says, again, Namas, you sort of work backwards, it's Kalismana. Namas, human version of him, says, well, so do we have somewhat of an agreement, my friends? At least a provisional, tentative one.
Yes.
but that's fine.
Probably
I was going to
more
ask.
certain about this than I have been about a lot of stuff on this journey.
Go ahead, Orash.
I was just going to. My main concern was that Greta was on board with this.
I'm on board.
Okay.
All right.
I'm still not sure what to do with the pony, but I'm on board.
It's fine.
I know what we can do with the pony.
I know what I can do with your hair.
Every now and then, we just stood there with a knife and fork. I know what I can do with the
And that's when
pony.
the party collapsed between the combined weight of eating ponies and setting people on fire.
This is where the campaign took a dark.
Yeah, it's a very dark turn,
I have
exactly.
One more question.
And Irish and Celsic leave to make a buddy comedy.
Yeah, sure. What's up? What is up, Rush?
What's the deal with River? Why are you so interested in her? What's her ability? Like,
Okay.
what does she represent to you and the Harpers?
He smiles and he says, he looks down at River, who's still gazing longingly at the pony, and he says, my dear, when you're not hungry or interested in food, if you've ever been forced to be, for example, fight others, what sorts of things can you do in a fight?
One time I looked at a guy, he's gonna hurt my food, and he turned into icicle and fell over. Shattered all over the floor.
And then
I smile politely at River.
right, yeah. He looks so Namas looks back at you and kind of raises an eyebrow and says, "Perhaps you might see our level of interest."
Okay, yep, totally satisfied with that. She's on board. As long as she wants to come with us, we give her all the food and can the company that she wants.
We have an easily distracted weapon of mass destruction.
What could go wrong? It's a tactical nuke with a love for food. I don't know.
We have a glass cannon that runs on food.
Yep. Wizard needs food badly.
Yeah.
So, all right. So he says, "Very well. Then my question to you, friends, is where next? What of these places do you wish to explore? I'll try to arrange this meeting that you ask for with the Harpers as soon as I can, but I must tell you, it is sometimes difficult to assemble all of them in one place. By nature, we are rather scattered and, well, solitary, and, well, for me, I don't really understand how they do these things, but you need to be able to communicate because they need time to prepare, and you swear that he does this thing with his arms that you think is meant to be quote fingers, but he's just doing it with his arms because he clearly doesn't quite get it, so he's just kind of like, time to prepare. And he says, "I don't know why you would need such time, but I'm told by the mortal races this is important. So I can't promise that I can assemble them within a day. However, I will do the best I can to bring them together as fast as I can."
Maybe hold off on that. Maybe we should have that meeting in Waterdeep. Not Waterdeep, in Neverwinter, if that's going to be where this hammer falls, so to speak.
How long roughly have we got left till the ball occurs?
That's also one
1 week, I think.
About a
wasn't it?
week, right. Now that, of course, and this would be instantaneous. So the question is, based on what the circle looks like, you could, this is up to you, but I just wanted to just out of character for a minute. I wanted to say that one of the things that's possible is within a week, that's sort of based on travel, you could try to investigate some places around here, see if you could find, for example, another teleportation circle, for instance, and then use that to get to Waterdeep. Or you could try to find, basically follow up and do more research on some of the other places that he mentioned, or other ones, basically, looking around the map. The way that he described it, there's lots and lots of places on the map that might have clues, and you're going to try to be basically assembling those clues, if you will, to try to figure out what happens next. So you could do that, and then you have as sort of a baseline, when a week is up, you've got the ball at Waterdeep, and then maybe you've got possibly the thing at Neverwinter, and those are two sort of, how do I put it, like little bullet points, that you can mark that these are the things we need to go to. In between, you're basically exploring. So it's almost a little bit sandboxy at this point in a way, except that you're trying to assemble information, basically.
Yeah, but
I'll kick flowers for a week.
Is there anything, just talking to Namas again, is there anything, is there another teleportation circle near either Shadowtop Cathedral, Grey Peak Mountains, the Sunset Mountains, that sort of thing that we could go and try and find? Because we're not a million miles away from the High Forest.
He
and
says,
from where you on the map, it's pretty close to the edge of the High Forest.
He says, "That's true. We don't know any of the specific details, but you look here," and he points at the circle, which I'll bring back up here on OBS. He points at the circle, and you can actually see that in one spot, where are we? Yeah, there we go. In one spot, right? Oh my God, I can't believe I just did that. Never mind, that was really dumb. Forget that I did it. There we go. I was clicking on the wrong window.
We won't see it for a minute anyway.
Clicking on one window, right? In one spot, that center circle, you can actually see where it says Yartar. Well, if you look at your map, you will see that the city of Yartar is down there to your southeast. And indeed, if you look at the big map, you can see that Yartar is right there. He says, now, we don't know if this is directly in Yartar or if it's near that place. Yartar, by the way, all of you guys know, Yartar is a fortified city. On the west bank, there's actually a walled citadel, which is under the city's control, and it's basically a major river port. So it's rapidly becoming one of the places that people go to, because as you can note, it's on the way from Desserin River. So basically Waterdeep, you can actually have people send goods up the Desserin River into Yartar, and then all the way to Mithril Hall. And so, for example, Greta, you know that the dwarves are able to become the dwarves of the Mithril Hall have become incredibly rich, in part because of the fact that they have these trade routes built in that's essentially done by river travel. Well, Yartar is one of the big central places, and that's why it's so fortified, because obviously it's a nice, tempting little target. So it is very much a hardened target, right? It's very difficult to get into. And it's a big place. So it's not as big as Neverwinter, but it's a big city. So if you were to go there, there might be some, valuable information, and it might, of course, not even be in Yartar at all, but near it. That just refers to a general area, but the Harpers don't know. This, remember, is very ancient, so it could have referred to, I don't know, Yartar 1.0, like when it was a bigger place or something elsewhere.
Yeah. I think that this ball of Waterdeep is actually something pretty important. We've been pushing that direction, and it's the one clue we have towards finding the Ring of Winter, which seems to be a very important item. And we only have 1 week. So if we go to Yartan, even if it only takes 1 day to go there, and we need another few days to find the teleportation circles and do whatever we need to reach them, we might run out of time. So I would say we go to Waterdeep, we set up somewhere, camp there somewhere in a nice hotel or something, and we prepare for the ball. We need to find out how to get River in the ball. We maybe even get into contact with the Harpers there. Maybe they already know something about the Ring of Winter, the ball, and everything, so maybe they can give us some information. And having some extra days seems to be a good thing, to even see who is coming to the ball, what's going on there. So I would say with only 1 week left, I'd say we go to Waterdeep.
I think we are definitely pushing it if we go and search for a teleportation circle at Yartar that may or may not be there. It could be there, it could be under somebody else's control, it could be destroyed, I don't know, it could be buried deep under the Citadel.
We found this one hidden under a flagstone.
Well, true, but this one could be a really easily, the next flagstone could be under someone's throne or something like that.
It sounds like
than under an abandoned tower. So I'm with Gretel.
Your Highness.
Yeah, well, I think we don't go to Yartar yet, but I don't know if we should go to Waterdeep now or try and get some sort of meeting in Neverwinter organised first and then use the teleportation network to go back to Waterdeep.
We can get from Neverwinter to Waterdeep presumably instantaneously.
Yeah,
so
we'll here to Neverwinter, then Neverwinter to Waterdeep. Yeah. I think that's a good use of the time. I completely agree that we need to make sure that we're on time. We need to be at the ball on time. Mm-hmm. I'm just thinking how we can best use that time, and
we can meet up with the Harpers. We can clue them into what our plan is. Yeah. They could possibly even arrange to have support for us at Waterdeep, or someone can join us there later.
Equipment, provisions, all this sort of stuff. We don't know what we're going into with this ball. We could get kitted, booted, outfitted with whatever we may potentially
with a discount.
Well, exactly, but that they would be able to offer us. I mean, even something like a couple of health potions would be nice at this point. You know what I mean?
The way you crack your skull, yes, I know what you mean.
Exactly. So yeah, I think go to Neverwinter now from here, and then we'll go to Waterdeep before the ball.
Namas, if we have to leave our ponies behind, can you take care of them somehow?
I'd be happy to take care of them somehow. Yes, indeed.
No, don't eat them.
Oh, well, yes, I could, I suppose, take care of them in other ways. He looks vaguely disappointed.
We could just, dress them down, and you could just have them run around here and see that that they don't come to any harm. They can eat grass by themselves, from what I figure.
Eat grass? Oh, you want them to eat? Well, yes.
If you want to eat grass, you're welcome.
He just looks at you. He looks at you up and down, like his face completely deadpan, like, and then he sort of says, "Yes," and kind of he says, can take that under advisement. However, your ponies will come to no harm, at least not as long as I am here.
Okay.
By the time you get them back, they may be more interested in running around wildly than being saddled and bridled. It is difficult to, how do we put it, civilize something that has gone wild, you realize.
Yeah, but I was hoping we would go to Waterdeep first because I thought I could get the pony out of the cemetery. But if we go to Neverwinter first and we go to the attic, that's not gonna work. So
hey,
the ponies have to stay.
Well, we're going to be less than a few days, aren't we? Or definitely less than a week in Neverwinter. So we go to Neverwinter, we come back here, collect Bill or whatever you've named the pony, and then go to Waterdeep with the pony.
I'm not gonna tell you my pony's name, but I'm fine with that.
Okay.
In your food.
What?
What?
It's called Stopper. That's the pony's name.
Steak. That is his
Yeah.
name.
Medium rare.
No. No.
Okay, cool. So, Namas, would you be able to organize some sort of meeting or send word or do something to help us organize a meeting in Neverwinter with the Harpers?
And he says, certainly, I'd be happy to do that. He says, again, I don't know how long it will take me to track him down, but I think we should be able to find something for you, yes.
Awesome. I think we have
Wait.
an agreement then.
Which
Well,
circle is
going to
our
Neverwinter.
circle? We are in which circle of the teleportation network are we now?
I think the one on the left. Like the far left. Well, you know, there's three on the
I was
left.
like, really? I was like, I want to.
No, but there's three. Okay.
They
Why
have
do we say
names.
Barbarians.
There's
It's the
three.
magic ritual that's relevant to
It's
it.
the round one.
Oh man, let me.
The
let me
one with the
look up
strange
again.
symbols, you mean?
How
Yep,
easily
that one.
can we get back to here after we leave, based on what we know of the symbols?
No, but which one are we? There's Mirabar, Neverwinter, Waterdeep, Yartar, Loudwater, and Everlund.
I think there's some smaller ones as well.
Those are the maybe, but those are the ones that are listed on this teleportation network. By the way, it is possible that the one that you're actually looking at is the one for Yartar, because remember, as we said, it's not that far away, and at another time that could have been. So that is possible. I mean, you don't know.
Yeah,
It's pretty likely not to be Everlund or Mirabar or Loudwater unless you miss your guess, because those three places, Mirabar, you guys know, is way far to the north. Everlund is off to the northeast, and I don't remember where Loudwater is, but it's not near here. So, pretty, and it's not Waterdeep and Neverwinter. Pretty good chance it might be.
So
Yartar.
we found the
Okay.
Yartar circle. Well done. So let's move on.
And he says, well, you did find one of these, and it may indeed be this one, but we don't know for sure. Of course, there are other teleportation circles which may not appear in this map. These are only the ones that we have heard rumors of or have tracked down. There may be others which
Okay.
exist.
What is a pretty map? Okay, well then we go to Neverwinter. But if we don't know which circle this is, how do we get back to this circle to get our ponies?
For
an
that
opposite
you'll be able to select the amulet, and he shows you, because basically on the amulet they have representation of these circles that you see here, and so they don't have the names on them, but if you press the one, presumably the bottom left would take you to Waterdeep, the one that's on the direct left, center left would be Neverwinter, the one in the middle would be this one, if that is indeed the one. The other three do not seem to be, I hate to use this term, they're grayed out. Like basically they're not active at the moment. And in fact, the Yartar one is not active yet either. Right now it's just Neverwinter and Waterdeep which are glowing.
Right, so we might not be able to get back to Yartar again.
So we need to
Once you
Hey, that's-
use it, if he's right, once you use it, then it would be attuned to the thing you used, if he's correct.
Right, so yeah, it will become active once we've used it for the first time,
If he's
from
right.
what we
Yeah.
know.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
let's
We
better
explode.
take all of our stuff if we can, or as much of our stuff that we can take.
Very
Are
well.
you talking
It's like,
about the pony?
Off we go, off to Neverwinter.
Are you talking about taking the pony to Neverwinter?
No, it's
Are you sure?
Neverwinter. We're going to an attic. That's not gonna work for a pony.
Okay.
They're taking the
Just making
pony to
sure,
Waterdeep.
because it's this guy that's going to have to take it down from the
But
attic.
you know what? In honor of River, I'm going to give my pony a new name now, and my pony is going to be called Flower.
Yeah, like bread.
I was just about to say, like really?
Like,
Couldn't you name the pony Poison Stone or something like
River's been eating for the past few hours.
I'm going to name it Edible. Like it's just
I thought you were going going to be best before 2019.
I just. Oh, good
Like
God.
bread.
Wow, like
Your name is
bread.
Breakfast. Congratulations. Oh, man.
This is my pony breakfast. This is my horse brunch.
I mean, that goes great with beans.
Yeah, good God. Right? Like flour like bread. Love it. All right.
Like bread. Yes, like bread.
So you guys are headed down. So you guys are going to head down, and without the pony, but you're going to head down and take it. Now, what are you doing with the weevil?
Where he was going supposed to
Oh
be
God,
in
I
our
forgot
bar,
about him.
He's still lying there, just trussed up like it's like,
I kind of feel sorry
He
for him
knows
now.
our plans now. We have to kill him.
Wow.
Better.
Not really. He's pretty.
No.
No, not really.
Boris has some brutal rules.
Sweetie.
Maybe we could eat him.
Didn't we have to take him to Mirabar? Where did we have to take him?
Mirabar, which does potentially have.
But we were going in the wrong direction for that. Where did we want to take him?
We were
Does
gonna-
anybody remember what we wanted to do
I
with
think
him?
we were taking him to
Tribal.
Waterdeep with us.
No,
Did
we were
we?
going to chop up at. Oh, I don't know. I'm just
Or
going
to Tribor? Didn't we want to take him to Tribor?
That was one possibility. Yes, that you were going to take him
Yeah,
to
I think
Tribor
so.
because they also had, as many of the towns around there do, sort of wanted.
I think we
posters and
take him
things
to
like that.
Neverwinter. I think everybody wants him.
Actually, yeah, we can just take him straight to Neverwinter with us.
Yeah.
Yeah, screw it.
Is he food?
No.
Only if he gets
yet.
really annoying.
No.
Not yet. Not yet. He's not.
Oh.
No,
Just
no.
lean into him and whisper, yeah, if you try running, remember, she's probably faster than you and is very hungry.
And he's already slightly singed. So
Yes.
And marinated in his own
Yes. Yes. Exactly. Stewed in his own juices, as it were. All right.
Oh.
So you guys are going to lower him carefully to the ground below, and then you're going to all drop down yourself, presumably. And the pony, of course, is left there. There's a moment of Greta and the pony, sort of spending a last moment. It's hard to say goodbye, and that moment is very powerful. And then there's a montage where you walk off, and the Namas is looking at the pony, rubbing his hands together. I'm just kidding. No, that's not at all. That's not at all what he does. Just joking.
while that's taking place, can I just pop in just for 1 second? Can I thank Namas and shake his hand?
Yes, and Namas reaches out and shakes your hand vigorously and says, "It's a pleasure to welcome you on board. I had a good feeling about all of you from the very beginning. And, of course, most of all, I had a feeling about my dear River. I do want you to take care of her as best you can." And he lowers his voice. "For all of her potential, I've been told by some that she acts slightly, well, oddly. Now, I haven't seen it, but it seems to me that maybe some might view her as being slightly different, and I think it's important that you try to gently guide her with your knowledge of high society," he says, looking up at your, still blood-stained form, Urash, kind of looking at all of it, and then looking at you, Greta, and Celsig, is like, "All of you have a knowledge of society which might help River become more integrated, and that, of course, will only help to develop her potential."
if I remember justice properly, I think her behavior is totally in line with how dragonborns are. So nothing wrong with her at all.
Wonderful.
Yeah, that's fine. We got it. Don't worry.
Then I will chalk it up to simple bigotry. And he smiles and good.
Yes.
Right. And he smiles and he says, "Urash, my friend, be brave, be strong, and thank you. And all of you," he says, looks at Greta and Celsig and River, "all of you. I am so proud that you are part of this experiment that we're involved in here. I think it will work out for all concerned. And perhaps in the end, we'll all be heroes. Well, you will be, and I'll be rid of having to be a hero for the mortal races for a time. Although you are most intriguing figures. Anyway," and he sort of, waves down to the floor and he says, "Off you go then," and sort of lowers you the rest of the way. He helps, lower with the ropes, and then reaches down and he says, "Now, when you're ready to go, Celsig, simply press the button, the portion on the amulet corresponding to the place you wish to go. Neverwinter there, I think, to the direct center of the amulet there. And then all of you make sure that you're touching Selsig just on the arm or something when this happens, and you'll be transported to this place. And he says, Godspeed to you, or not Godspeed, he says, God's speed to you. And he holds his head back, and then he peeps back over and goes, oh, you might want to duck down slightly, Urash and River. This is an attic and might be a little low in the roof. And then but I'm sure you'll be fine. And then he brings his head back, and then he brings it over again. He says, also, when you get there, the person who manages this is a little, well, eccentric. But I'm sure it'll be fine. And he brings his head back.
Wait. He does
says,
not think that River is eccentric, but the person who is in the attic is eccentric.
Yes.
Sometimes.
And
That's
then
good point.
Is there anything
do we need like a code word?
Yes.
Yeah.
The code word. Yes, there was something about a code word.
To explain why we suddenly appeared in their attic.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So he says, oh, no, there is no code word associated with this one. You were thinking about the one in Waterdeep in the Crypt of the
Yeah.
Dead. I'll give you that information if you need it, of course.
We need it.
Oh, well,
Which
certainly.
we will, because we're going to Waterdeep from here.
He says, yes. Well, the Waterdeep code is when you arrive at this place. Oh, that's not the one. Hold on a second. When you arrive at this place, make sure you don't lose your page, because that's really okay. There we go. When you arrive at the place, the word that should be spoken is Myrna. Apparently, it is someone who was a resident of this crypt in a past life. Seems rather overdramatic to me, but the mortal races do what they will do.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, we're good to go.
So he
Any
smiles and
last
says,
words of wisdom or, anti-giant killing treasures you want to bestow upon us before we leave?
he says, two of them. First, the bigger they are, the harder they fall. Second, make sure you let people know, though I will send word ahead, that you are a member of the Harpers when, and only when, you trust them. If you don't believe that they are the right type, and that they might, for example, mean evil, then I would suggest you not mentioning the Harper Association. Oh, and last of all, when you activate that Selsig, you may feel a slight tingling sensation. It's perfectly normal, and I'm sure it will pass very quickly. It almost always does. And he lifts his head back. So you are now ready to go when you choose.
Well then, Scotty.
One of us is going to get telefragged. The poor janitor at Neverwinter's cleaning inside the circle.
Exactly. No one ever uses this. All right, what are you gonna do?
I am ready.
I think
when
we're
you-
about ready to go, unless anyone's got any last minutes.
Nope. Let's
Okay.
go.
I look down at my empty paper, cry a little, and put a hand on Selsig.
Yep, it's gone now.
If we get a bigger party, we will have to transfer the amulet to Urash so that we have enough space to put our hands on.
Yeah, exactly. Hey guys, you know what's funny about that is that in this game you can do inventory management with your imagination. You know why that is? Because this is the best game ever made. I'm just saying. Find me a video game where you don't do inventory management. Game, set, match. Checkmate.
You don't break the game sequence by clicking a dialogue option wrong.
Exactly. If there's a bug, you fix it immediately. Checkmate. You know what else it is? DRM free. Double checkmate. What's up?
Bikes dropped.
DRM my imagination. That's right.
That's right.
I get
Oh
the
man.
amulet
Okay.
then,
But
and I
does it have
raise the
single
finger
player?
dramatically.
Does that have single player?
Listen.
No.
You got to be a troublemaker, Pyron. You got to do us like that, really? You got to do us
No,
like
it's
that?
fine. No. Fine,
I'm so sorry.
can, but that's called writing a novel.
Yeah, that's right. Right. And for more, see either Mike or myself. Right. So, yes. No, she did say goodbye to the pony, Gigafrost. River didn't, but River should not be saying goodbye to the pony.
Say goodbye to the pony.
That's a whole
River's
issue,
just
man.
like, see
Dragged
you later,
away from
Lynch.
the pony.
Exactly. See, no microtransactions, no loot boxes, no lag, community, choose your own event. Yeah. See, that's what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
to be fair, you haven't given us a decent loot box in ages.
Wow, so it's like that.
I got this
So it's like
bag of coins and this.
Excuse you, you have like the Axe of Doom. You have some like
Shush.
amazing axe that I gave you. As far as that's concerned.
Which I still haven't had identified, actually. I need to get that identified. 'cause
Yes.
I could
You've
be
got that, and you've got your weird sword bracelets that I gave you.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
sure.
my leather cuff. That's attractive.
Dude, we're going to a city. There's so much stuff we can do.
Yeah, let's go to a city.
And you got a week to do it. All right.
Maybe this one will not burn or get attacked. It would be the first one.
That's exactly
Had to
right.
say it. You had to say it.
That's exactly right. All right. So Celsic, you place your hand,
I
right?
go, engage. And
All
I hit
right.
the button.
As he presses the button, this is a good time to let everyone know in chat that you are watching episode 118 of Pen and Pixels. This is my show focused on story and narrative I do here every Tuesday. It is my wonderful pleasure to be dungeon mastering for 4 intrepid members, party members. Pyron Jade as Greta Guldenfire, Darksaber 2K as Celsic Mar, Screaming Joypad, also known as Mike, as Ura Ash, and of course Tasty Chai as River. All 4 engaged in this process to find out what is happening with the Giants, and having leveled up slightly by, not in reality yet, but leveled up slightly, by having joined a secret organization, at least provisionally. If you like what you see in here, please make sure to follow GOG, please subscribe to GOG, and please check out all of the individual players and my own channel, because we all do cool stuff. In the case of Mike, not a channel, but you should check out Mike's other work, for example, playing D&D with me on Saturday, this coming Saturday, in my other campaign with him. And of course, many of the other 3 of us have channels and games that we stream, so please check us out, and thank you all for being here. All right, with that said, you press the button. Now, you remember that Namas had said that you would feel a slight tingling. So here's the thing about the slight tingling. Thank you, Baron Marty, for the follow. Welcome to GOG. So here's the thing about slight tingling. It's kind of like when someone says, so this is going to hurt a bit, and then you feel like you've been punched in the face. So that's more what it feels like. There's this, and there's this, suddenly this explosion of power, and for a moment, you feel as if your body has been squeezed into a line, just like, just for a second, and then, and you find yourself, this sort of burst of light opening, and you find yourself, wow, and there was a sub just as that happened. That was dramatic. Thank you, Gigafrost, for the sub to my own channel. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Welcome. That's exactly what you hear. Dun 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 dun. That's exactly what you heard as you arrived. Thank you so much, Gigafrost. I appreciate it. Thank you. Welcome. So when you get over there, there is this moment of whoosh, right? And then you appear, and you are sitting inside this attic. And they weren't lying about this attic. This is in a very, it's a small room. The wood beneath your feet creaks, but you can see that in fact there is a circle which has been inscribed, almost drawn, if you will, on top of the attic. And Celsig, as you're sort of looking down at it, it is drawn, but it's drawn, how do I describe it, perfectly, like not just a child's drawing, like it's like almost as if you had taken what you saw on the floor and then made the Neverwinter symbol version of it and put it on the wood of this attic. So even though it feels like wood, it's clearly infused with magic of some kind. But the attic itself is very cramped, and there is just one ladder on the other side and one dirty, clouded over window past it. It feels like you actually just landed in the attic of some random person's house. But that is where you are right now. And your feet creak, the floor creaks alarmingly under your feet, by the way.
Wow, and under Celtic's feet already.
Oh, yeah. You were with me.
Like, just as you.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
I'll stick my head over the ladder and see if there's anyone down there.
Like, you know, creak, 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 all the way over to the ladder. And as you look down, you don't see anything, but there seems to be, other than the sort of bottom ladder on this wooden floor below.
I'll just say I'm gonna go have a look and go down the ladder quickly and make sure. Yeah, usual. Scout ahead.
He's scouting it, yeah.
I'm gone.
Okay.
I want to go shopping already. I'm going.
The second floor of what looks like a 3-story house, if you had to guess, because there is another set of stairs leading down from here. There's a ladder down here and then a set of stairs that actually leads down from this floor. It's basically empty. In fact, the entire place looks deserted. You don't see anything or anyone, but you are sure that Namas told you that there would be, you know, someone there minding it and that they were eccentric, but you don't see anybody there.
I just sort of shout back, "It's all clear."
I will have a look around the attic. Is there anything else?
Like you hear on the other side, Selsig, you look up and you can actually see the boards like bending under Urash's weight as you kind of move around. Yeah, it's very, very loud. What are you looking for, Urash, up there?
Anything, to be honest, like boxes, windows, anything.
There is a window.
What can I see?
There is one window which is kind of a dirty, dusty window which is past the ladder. So you've got basically a ladder that goes down that Selsig just went down before, and then there's a little space beyond it, and then set in the wall, like the side wall, is this small square window. There is some light streaming through it. Well, streaming would be a little too strong. There's some light there. It's too dusty for the light to really get through that much, but there's definitely light on the other side of it.
Okay, I'll go down the ladder.
Okay, so you go down again. The wood sort of creaking alarmingly as you go down, and you get down to the bottom of the ladder, and you see Selsig there.
Okay.
Greta and River, what are you guys doing?
I
River.
also go down.
Okay.
Oh wait, no, you're talking to me. Hang on.
Yeah, I was waiting for River to get down, and then I'll go down after
Yeah,
her.
I go down because the creaking is making me uncomfortable.
We said we were going to take care of her, so if she gets lost like in the first level of the house, that would be very embarrassing. So
That's true.
Right, split the party.
I was gonna say yeah. Okay, so you get down there, and then Greta, you follow afterwards. And Greta, just as you're going down, you hear,
the damn weevil!
The weevil's just still lying on the circle, like tied up, like just.
I go up again, and I take and I grab him, and I carry him down the ladder.
Okay. Like, so two of you, like, as you're holding, like, trying to hold on to him. Oh, thanks, Stump. What's up, man? Welcome into the GOG community. Stump-O-Matic's a really good dude, big supporter of my channel. So you bring him down, and now you have him sort of like on the bottom floor. Or, sorry, excuse me, not the bottom floor, the second floor, I should say.
What?
I just keep wandering around.
Okay.
I keep an eye on her, and
What can we see on the second floor?
Can we put a string round her and just
that-
let her
she-
pop collars around?
she's pretty tall, so and like
I didn't say restrain her, just so that we can just keep attached to her.
River,
like,
as
tie a bell to her. or
yeah,
something?
exactly. No, like one
we
of the
could, we could just tell her we have food. She's never gonna leave us.
like in the mall with the kid, you put the leash on the kid. Like they can't quite get away, that type of thing. So River, as you're walking around, you see that there's a flight of stairs that leads down, but you notice something odd about it, which is when you take a couple of steps just down, you don't go all the way down, but just a couple steps, you can see that there is a floor that it leads to, but then you see the stairs go further. So there's just a set of stairs that leads all the way down, possibly beyond the first floor, maybe to a basement. And at the very bottom of those stairs, you can see a flickering light. Like
Nice.
candlelight
There's
or
a
firelight or
shiny.
something.
There's a shiny, and then I start just like chasing it.
Okay.
Okay,
Just,
so-
like,
So
plop, plop, plop down the stairs.
yeah. So there's like
Yeah.
creak, 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 creak. The whole house seems to rock right a little bit like below. And you get down to the bottom of the room, or to the bottom of the bottom floor. Now, as you're doing this, Greta and Selsig and Urash, what are you guys doing?
I'm still
stealth,
grabbing the weevil like at one of the ropes that he's bound with, and I just drag him behind me down the stairs after the river.
Okay, now he's slightly.
I can't carry him all the way. He's like my size.
I get into the spirit of the things and I just jump down the stairs, making as much noise as I can.
I am gonna chase after River because she's just shot off.
Okay, so I love that creaky and like, or it's like, I will go faster. So like again, the house is just sliding. All of Neverwinter. Okay, so you guys get down to the bottom, and as you look around, you see a circle, a small room basically down below, and there is a circle of candles. And within these circle of candles, which are lit, are these piles of open books. But the things you notice as you take all this in is also a young woman dressed in a deep green cloak. There are some symbols, arcane symbols on the bottom of the cloak. She has her hood back, and she is pointing a wand directly at your face, River. And she says, I don't know who you are, but you have exactly 10 seconds to tell me.
Oh, hi! I'm River. And then I lick her wand. Oh, it's not good. Oh, that's not good.
I come bouncing into the room behind her.
I come dragging the weevil. Book burning. What?
So wait. River goes, Urash comes right behind her, Celsig parkours in, and then Greta shows up with the weevil. Like at the bottom. Okay.
That's
If she's
The long
supposed to
and
be
short,
eccentric, I think we win.
Right. So she kind of looks at all of you and says, what? And then she kind of looks again. Take 3 steps back, please. Now there's
Are
no
you
way
burning books?
there's no way you could take 3 steps back. If you went 3 steps back, you'd be through the wall. So basically, you don't know what that means. But you could back up a step maybe.
Okay, so you're probably wondering who we are. Fair question. We get this a lot. We are associates of Namas. Does that mean anything to you?
She says, it means that you can figure out a name. But what does he have to do with this?
With what?
What?
Help.
Well, he helped us get here.
How? Did you kill him first?
What?
No.
I knew this would happen. They didn't listen to me.
kills.
This was not nearly secure enough a place. Ugh. And she takes out a second wand, almost as if the second wand, she's like, oh yeah, I forgot about this. So now she's got double fisting, like 2 wands pointed at you, both sparkling. One seems to be sparkling with some kind of ice. One seems to be sparkling with just a little bit of fire. You can see, like almost like a flamethrower before being torched, lit off. And they're both sort of facing you. And she says,
Okay,
I knew this would be a
said-
problem.
Our character.
Nama sent us here.
Okay.
Yeah. This is supposed to be a Harper stronghold, isn't it? This is out of character. Like to you guys.
Does she look trustworthy or what?
I'm not talking about. I'm not talking out loud as a character.
Right, this is out of
Okay,
character.
okay.
Yeah, okay.
This is supposed to be.
Is this the Harbour
Rickety
Transportation
House.
Network?
This
Yeah.
is supposed to be the Harbour Transportation Network to take us to Neverwinter, right? That's
Yes,
where we were
correct.
supposed to have gone.
He
Right.
only said it's in an attic. He never said it's a safe house.
Yeah, no, that's fine. But the assumption is that that's where they have a lot of their meetings.
No.
Okay.
Well, or at the very, I don't know about meetings. At the very least, the information was that this is where the teleportation circles were, and that the Harpers maintain guards over those places.
Yeah.
Right, got it. Okay.
Okay.
All we know is that we can assume she's a Harper as well. I'm guessing.
Yeah, or she killed
Yeah.
all the Harpers and is now burning their
Yeah.
books.
No.
I put that to her. How do we know we can trust you?
And she says, she sort of stops, says, "Wait a minute, I don't answer questions here. You answer the questions. Why are you here? Where's
Absolutely not. Why-
if
why
you're
are you here? Where'd
Harpers,
you come from?
where's your Harper badge? Show me the badge." And she
Oh.
pulls open her
River.
cloak and she points to the badge, which she clearly has like a pin, which looks like a harp that's clearly on her cloak. And River, you do have one of those, right?
I do have
believe?
one. I sure when I'm like, I have one too.
And
We're
she-
Swissers.
She
Swissers.
lowers the wand slightly, and she's like,
I never learned how to say sisters, apparently.
Sister, yeah. She says, "Who are these 3? And who are you?"
They're my friends. I said I was River. You don't listen very well, do you? Hi. What's your name?
And she kind of takes a moment and, as if she's trying to kind of size you up, and she says, "My name is Sandys, but you are a Harper and you're bringing these other people? And who is this?" And the Weevil, who is like basically upside down, like, on the bottom, looks very bruised at this point.
At
Wait,
what point does this become cruel and unusual?
Several sessions ago.
He is a
When it's
criminal
funny,
that we apprehended and are going to give to the proper authorities so that he can
When-
face his judgment.
She
Long
says,
way of saying he's food.
Yeah, I was gonna say when
No,
becomes
he
food,
is not
that's when it
food.
becomes trouble.
Food?
No, he is not food.
What?
No.
She looks back and forth, like to you, like you to her. And she's like, wait a minute. All right. So you mean to tell me that you're all working with or connected to the Harpers, and you suddenly found your way with this criminal that you've roped up and dragged down here, and you, traveling circus one, and she points at you, Celsig. She's like, what, and who are you? You're working with these people?
Yes.
He's a ranger.
I'm a ranger.
Are you one of the Dunedain? So she kind of narrows her eyes and she says, all right, one by one, you first. And she says to you, Greta, what's your name? What do you do? And why are you here? Just you.
My name is Greta Goldenfire. I'm a cleric of Foltus, and I'm here in this moment to take this criminal, pointing to the weevil, to justice.
But why are you using our teleportation circles to do that?
Because it's faster.
Well, I know it's... And she starts getting ready to answer, and then she's like... Then she stops, shakes her head. She's like, and then she...
Why else would you use them?
I hold up the actual amulet.
Yep.
And just sort of see if anything she reacts to it.
She kind of... She looks at it, and she says, well, obviously you had the key, or you couldn't have gotten here. The question is, how did you get the key? Wait a minute. And she walks forward, lowers her wands, walks forward, grabs the key from you, like without even like. And she looks, but she seems to be staring at something. Yeah, she grabs the key. You still have hold of it, so you're like, ugh, stagger forward, and she's staring at the key, and she's like, you found it. You found it! And she's pointing wildly at the center circle, which you can see is now glowing. So you remember I mentioned that there were those two circles that never went in Waterdeep? So the Yartar one is now glowing. And she says, you found the one at Yartar? What?
Yes, we're so good.
Wait, so this is wonderful. We'll be able to travel 6 times farther, and that will make things much easier when I infiltrate. Well, I can't talk about that really well, but if they're Harpers, and all of a sudden she gets into this conversation, I don't really think this is a good idea. Maybe it's a good idea, you have no idea. Yes, but I'm not really sure if this is the time for it. Listen, you know that you've been waiting for the moment to talk with people. Shh, they're going to know that you're talking to yourself. What? And then she stops and realizes.
Are you two related?
Yeah, and she stares back and realizes, oh, I see. Well, and then she suddenly releases the key, Celsius, you're like stagger back a couple steps, and she says, so you're working with the Harpers, but you're not allowed to use those networks unless you are Harpers.
Gibraltar is just standing there wondering about the recruitment qualifications for Harpers. Like, very, very much. Because so far she has met Namas, River, and this woman. And she's like, yeah.
They're eclectic. It's the A-team.
We have a trial membership.
And she says, I see. So you're being tested, essentially. Well,
I often have that feeling.
And she sort of nods, not really getting the reference. She nods, and she sort of smiles slightly and says, well, this is an interesting way to begin this test. All right, and she steps back and she says, well, feel free to sit down and chat if you like, or bring your burden somewhere else.
We're going to get rid of him first, and then we can talk.
And she says, oh, yes. Officials, where would you go find them? Well, I suppose you might want to bring him to the main law building, which is near the city hall, but the reality is it will be somewhat difficult to find that, at least at this time of day. You see, it's festival here, and it's rather busy. And for the first time as you listen, you actually can hear above the sound of, people walking around and chattering outside. You can hear sort of a low rumble of noise, but it sounds like there might be a lot of people. And she says, the streets are crowded right now, although they will ease up perhaps by nightfall. Also, when you do deliver them, they will ask you questions, no doubt. They'll want to know where you came from. They'll want to know why you're Harpers. You'll need to explain that you're not Harpers. If they don't understand that, you'll have to kill them. No, don't do that. Harpers don't do that. But really, you'll have to do something. I don't know if we should have them kill each other. Do you think so? And then all of a sudden she's like chatting with herself about whether you should kill the guards. And then she finally, after a little back and forth with herself on this, says, no, I think it's not a good idea. We agree. Not a good idea to kill the guards. But it still will be difficult to get to the place where you need to turn this one in. But if you want to try to do it during the middle of the day, certainly feel free.
Yes, thank you.
Question: how do we get paid if we drop him off here?
I think he's like a criminal at large, so I think we're gonna get a reward everywhere.
Okay.
I mean, we're just on the other side of the Neverwinter Wood, and I'm pretty sure he will be known here as well.
Yeah, bound to be.
Okay.
And if they don't want to give us money for him, then we keep him and exchange him somewhere else.
We'll keep him and raise him as our own.
Turns into food.
We don't
No,
shop
he
him
is
around.
not food.
No.
He is not food.
I'm kind of bored of hauling him round. I vote for food.
Okay, no.
No,
No?
No, we're not going to turn the prisoner into food, okay?
But we're
Okay.
going to turn him into gold. It's sort of just one less
We're
step.
not turning him into gold. We're turning him
I like
into
nodding
gold.
vigorously with you.
No.
Yeah.
If we kill him, we have to give him to the proper authorities, and he will have to face judgment. That's how it is done. That is how it is good and lawful. So let's go.
I know, but he's starting to smell and... There's easier ways to make money, is my point.
When you say that you want to give him over, the weevil is furiously nodding within his bonds, like you're gonna.
He has the story to tell after everything he has heard. Okay,
We're gonna
let's
go back to on us,
Mhm.
like the cannibal.
No one
the
will ever
cannibal.
Okay, let's take him. What Sandis was her name, right? So okay.
Yes, her name was Sandis. She actually
How are
tells
you
you her
spelling
full
that?
name is Sandys, Sandyse, Thunderquill.
Thunderquill.
Thunderquill, yes.
Thunderquill.
Thunderquill.
That is such a metal Dungeons and Dragons name.
Yep. When she says it, you hear a bang.
I see your Thunderquill and raise your golden fire. So, but still, let's
Yeah.
go.
No, the whole thing is basically never left the 90s. Like the 90s called them like their band names back. So
Okay, let's take him to the guards.
Okay, so Sandis,
map.
you're gonna be here when we get back, right?
she says, "Indeed, it's my job to guard this teleportation circle from groups that shouldn't be using it." And she kind of pauses, like looking over you.
Very well done. We see you later.
Okay.
Do we have a
keep
map?
the good fight going. Let's go.
Okay, let's go.
All right.
Let's go before these two get hungry.
Before they get
You know,
Okay,
I'm pretty sure if we drag somebody roped and gagged through the streets, somebody will call the guards, so it will all work out.
Is that a bad thing? That seems.
That sounds like a fine idea.
We're on the side of the
don't
law.
think
Nothing
that
bad will happen to us.
But do they
know-
know that?
That sounds
Yes.
legit.
Yeah. So let's go.
I'm shadowing the group at this point.
Fine, you're a ranger. You have nothing to fear.
How are you so good at hiding? You're a ranger.
Exactly. Okay.
Instead of actually
This is the
dragging him,
urban
you
forest.
carry him. Yeah.
Well,
So can
Okay.
can he walk or can he hop along or something?
Oh yeah. You could. I mean, his feet were. I mean, you had him bound completely, but you could untie his feet anyway.
Yeah, free
so he
is
could walk.
free is
Yeah, let's
fee.
do that. That's very practical. Okay.
Okay. So.
So his hands are still bound, aren't they?
Yes, please.
Yeah, put like a cloak or something over his wrists so people can't see his binds on his wrists.
Okay.
I think at this point he just wants us to give him to the guards, so that's
Yeah, he wants that. But if some concerned citizen interrupts us and goes, "Oh, why are you taking that man off in ropes?"
fine. Yeah,
Then we've got to get into the. That's just what wasted time. Just trust me. Just cover.
We're
cover it up.
looking so much. We're looking like criminals if we just try to hide what we're doing.
We have two people here wanting to eat him. I think looking like
I'm just
criminals.
thinking of carting him around.
To be honest, looking like criminals is a step up right now.
I'm just saying, I have something. I would like to see him gone. We have 2 options for that now.
Yeah, and mine is the right one. So let's go.
but mine is delicious.
Okay.
No,
Okay,
dwarves are not delicious.
Oh, I guess
Um,
that's true. They're
let's
kind
see,
of
okay.
gooey.
So now.
But if we get a reward for him, we can buy food. So let's go.
Oh, I like food.
Good.
Okay, so, you guys are. I'm gonna put you. Sort of list this right here. You guys are. Here we go. Okay, so I want to show you folks some places as to where you are. So if you go, eventually I'm going to put this up onto the onto Roll20, so it'll be easier to look at. But for right now, it's just on the stream. You were looking at the city of Neverwinter, and if you guys see, there's a central river there. There's also a huge rift in the southeastern portion of the city, and if you want to know how that happened, definitely play one of the Neverwinter Nights games, and you will get more information about how that occurred. You folks come out, roughly speaking, or at least it seems like you come out, roughly speaking, right around to the northwest of the rift, and close to the river. So basically, when you come out, you actually see that the 3-story house that you were in was what looks like a row house. A row house. There's like an abandoned dock that's right near it that kind of leans out, a couple of dusty-looking wooden boats that have been drawn up and are lying on the dock with their hull upwards. But the basic idea is that obviously these were things that used to be able to just row into the dock, and then you would go up and go into this row house. But it is sort of by itself, and there doesn't seem to be anything immediately next to you. Although if you were to look up and down the river, you can obviously see lots of little houses and docks and things like that along it. The place where you were told, where Sendis tells you that you're looking for, is all the way to the far western side of the city. If you head all the way to the west and you see where that little island is out there, that so head straight west on your map. You see that center island there? Little island that's attached by a bridge?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right to the southeast of that, in the inside of the wall, is the Hall of Justice. And as far as Sandis knows, that's the spot where you would bring this person, because it's there. The problem is that there is indeed some festival going on, and the streets are absolutely choked with people. So there's lots and lots of people. So getting from where you are, just to the north, next to the river to the north of that rift, and getting through that into the district which is called the Protectors Enclave and all the way to the Hall of Justice is going to take a long time doing it traditionally. So I'm just letting you know if there are other ways you want to do it, because there's lots of people. Again, where you are, not so much, but as you just go up the road just a little bit, you can see there's tons of people. There's lots of laughter and talking and merrymaking and all that sort of thing.
Is there a taxi?
Yeah, there is no Uber, unfortunately.
No, maybe a horse cart taxi.
But a
And
horse
if
cart
only
would
we had
never
a
get.
pony.
Yeah, that's true. A pony would really help. No, the problem is that even a pony would not do anything for you right here because the streets are too crowded. So.
Can we see any other faster forms of transportation through the crowd?
The river.
Well, there is the river.
I didn't know the
So-
festival would be also on the river.
Like a
I
ferry.
don't think we could all fit on the back of the Weevil.
Well, you do note that there are these boats that I mentioned, which have been dragged up onto the dock. You don't know what shape they're in, but
No, looking for. I don't want to steal a boat. I want to look for a ferry.
This area's abandoned.
But if there are many people who are want to spend money, that there should be a ferry. Like
would there be a ferry too?
Ferry, not the other one.
right.
Ah.
There may or may not be, but you don't see anything that's passing by at the moment. It's
Okay, well
possible
then-
that the street is. It's possible that they're very busy at the moment, and that's part of why what's going on. That could
Okay,
be.
but
it.
then
And is
still,
there
let's walk along the river until we find somebody who wants to take us.
Okay.
we could do that?
Or
There we go.
We could just
Okay.
take a boat.
I just start wandering
No,
off.
We could bring it back.
We could
No,
bring
we-
it
That's
back.
here
We
anyway.
bring it back. Trust me.
no, you can't just take people's property. You have to ask for permission.
We are bringing it back.
We're bringing it back. We can leave a
It's
note.
not the same as permission. Look,
We can
if
leave a
somebody
note.
now somebody took my pony but brought it back, it would also not be all right.
Well,
Greta,
what I was thinking.
Remember when we stole ponies but left the payment? This is kind of like then.
Are you going to leave payment for the boat?
We're leaving a note.
That's not the same unless it's like a banknote.
We weren't going to be bringing the pony feed back. We're going to be bringing the boat back.
Okay, well, you guys are bickering.
I was just gonna
I've
say that,
already
yeah.
started talking.
So you guys are talking with each other, and you look around, you notice the river has already vanished.
Okay, I'm gonna go find River.
Okay, let's find river. Let's
I have
find
a
river.
feeling this is gonna be a
Uh,
running thing.
Put some strict order. That's what I said.
Okay, so River, as you were wandering down the street, you see all kinds of fascinating things. First of all, this is more people than you've ever seen in one place ever. Like, I mean, this is just incredible, just amounts of people. You see a bunch of wooden stalls. You see people dancing. You see people what looks like tossing balls up, these red, bright balls, and then catching them and then tossing up other ones. So it looks like they just keep tossing them up and catching them at the same time, and that seems impossible, but somehow they're doing it. Someone else is breathing fire, and you're like, wow, a dragonborn, but then it's actually a person who's holding some stick that's flaming, and they're using something, they're breathing, and there's fire coming out. There are people gathered around what looks like a really interesting game where there's people in a circle, and they're all seem to be betting on something, or at least they seem to be yelling, like, 5 on that, 10 on that, come on, damn you. You can't really see what they're looking at, but there's lots of cool, interesting stuff around here.
Wow, that's pretty sensory overload for somebody who's been a hermit for a while.
Hell yeah.
I'm trying to think. I feel like she would like start to panic a little, like walk a little faster, starting to get nervous.
Okay. Now you're walking right into it because it's right in front of you. Is that what you want to do? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the funny thing about panic.
Yeah, it's not very smart.
Yeah.
So you start like run. You start walking very quickly. Now, your appearance, this is a large city, so a very large city, one of the great cities of the Sword Coast. And so the appearance of a dragonborn is not that troubling, but your presence is noticeable as you kind of push your way through. So you're pushing through people like, oh, are you saying anything as you go, or are you just kind of like eyes front, straight ahead, like
eyes front, lest I walk past something that smells good.
There is a lot of good smelling stuff, let me tell you. A lot of good smelling stuff. And in fact, as you start pushing your way through, you see one stall, which is over to your left, from which there are these delectable smells. And you see there's actually these spikes of what look like meat kind of on top, like stacked on top of each other, like slice of meat, all the way up. And some large half-orc is behind taking a piece of the meat and then dunking it into this sizzling something or other, this fluid, and then when it comes out, it's got some coating over it or something, and people are taking these and biting them and seems to be enjoying them. It smells delicious.
I do what any sensible hermit would do, and I reach out and try to get one.
Okay, so you reach out and he says, "Hey, no touching the merchandise," and he kind of slaps your hand away and he says, "Listen, you want some of this? You gotta pay for it. And you should want some of this because it's delicious. It's the best damn meat you've ever tasted."
Have I caught up to River?
So now what you see, yes. So Urash, as I mentioned, you ever have the experience of arriving on the scene when you're driving in traffic and all of a sudden you get to a spot and it feels like there must have been a lot of traffic there just a little while ago because like the way the cars are seems weird and everything? That like basically the people are kind of settling back into place after somebody pushed through or something pushed through very quickly. So when you arrive, the same thing happens, right? Like they're sort of like, they like, "Can you believe?" And they're sort of talking to each other and then you're like, "Excuse me," and they're like, "Ah!" And so again, they sort of part as you walk past. And you do see River with her sort of reaching out and then kind of looking kind of curiously at this large half-orc behind a stand who is talking to her animatedly. You don't know about what, but he's got a stack of meat on the counter next to him.
Okay, I feel I know River well enough to know what just went down. I'll go up. I'll buy River. I'll say, "Hey, how much for the food? Give us 2 portions."
And he looks and he says, 2 portions of the meat, huh? Well, that'll run you 2 silver for each. 4 silver for the best damn meat you've ever had. Now, 4 silver is really expensive for meat. Like that's New York City prices for meat. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's expensive, but he kind of gives you this. He's got one tusk over the top of his mouth. He gives you this look like, "This is the kind of meat you want."
4 silver. 4 silver. What's this made out of? Dragon hide? I give you 2 silver for 2 of them.
He says, 2 silver? I can't sell stuff like that. This is a work of art. You wouldn't sell a work of art for 2 silver. You'd sell it for 4. At 4 silver, I'm robbing myself anyway. But I want to share my art with the masses.
This guy's good.
And behind the
Shame.
behind the desk, you actually see behind the counter next to him, you hear this little wiry voice like, "That's right, boss. That's right. It's all about art for the masses." And you see there's this little goblin who's got this apron that basically is around his chest, like, because it's so big, way too big for him. Not Gleek. But the goblin is has one folded ear down, one folded ear up, and he's holding what looks like a spatula and then a knife. And he's like, "It's all about the art, boss." And he does the knife and the spatula thing, and then holds them back up again. And the big half-orc is, "Shut up, will you? I'm trying to do a negotiation. You understand what that means?" "Yeah, boss. You're trying to get rid of him." "No, that's not what I'm... Just shut up. God, be quiet. Anyway, 2 silver is robbing myself." Now, at this point, Greta and Celsig, where are you guys?
I was trailing them, so I'm probably where Greta is since I was last to leave the scene.
Okay, Greta.
I'm behind Urash, but I'm pretty sure because I'm still like leading the Weevil and I'm not as tall as Urash, I'll have some problem
Yes.
following.
I was really hoping you were going to leave the Weevil behind. It would have been really funny. Oh, damn it, the Weevil. No. Okay, so you're bringing him through. So I just want to be clear that Chad understands that we have a Dragonborn pushing through, then an Orc Barbarian pushing through, then we've got a Dwarf with a Dwarf on a leash,
Prisoner.
and then last of all we have Celsig's like, sorry, excuse me, pardon me, right, as they're sort of driving by. They are at this point, by the time you arrive, Celsig, these people are not happy. They're like, what is going on? Like, they're really tired of moving. And it is packed.
Like, through their legs if they're taller than me. I don't care.
Exactly. Even for you, Celsig, who has knows your way around a city street, this is pretty damn busy. Neverwinter is pretty huge, and as you're kind of making your way through these people, you're like, wow, this is a lot of people. You arrive, Greta and Celsig. Greta with your burden trailing, bonking into people and bumping and sort of swearing viciously, apparently, although you can't hear because of the gag. But you arrive at a place where Urash is engaged in an animated conversation with some big half-orc behind a counter, and River is looking basically longingly at this stack of meat on a spike.
At this point, I have just handed him the silvers for the food.
He says, "A wise decision, my friend. Enjoy that meat. It'll be worth every silver you have." And he hands over he takes out these little wooden plates, and he puts these meat. He takes one piece of meat off the spike, puts it on top of the 2 plates, and hands it over. And he says, "Now, do you want any ketchup?"
No, I think we're good.
All right. And the goblin says, "That's good, boss, because I'm really tired of going with people." "Shut up, Ketchup. You stay right where you are." And so you then head off just as Greta and Celsig are arriving. You hear all this, and so he turns around with these 2 plates of meat.
All right, cool. I'll
River, the
hand
meat
both.
smells delicious, just so you know.
Yeah, I'm gonna hand both plates to River and say, "Here, have that."
I am in heaven.
Yep.
I'm gonna make sure that she doesn't wander off. So I've got half an eye on her now.
Okay.
Why don't we tie the Weevil to River?
Worst idea. Possibly the worst idea.
It's an incredibly great the stream value. You guys have no idea the stream value.
It's true. Think of all the things we could do together, Weevil and I.
You've essentially there, Celsig, you've created a spin-off.
Yeah, it's hijinks, right? Exactly. River and the Weevil. A buddy story. Okay. So now you guys are trying to kind of eat. Now the problem is you are in this crush of people, so you're kind of, River, trying to eat this meat like with your arms. If you guys have ever been in a lot of people,
Yeah.
I know Saber has been because of the concerts. You know what I mean? Like you do a bunch of people, you can't even move basically, and you're just like trying to. So you're like
River, you move in front. You just walk down the street while eating. So Celsig, the Weevil, and I go in the middle, and Urash, you go in the back. That should work. We should be like a big ship.
Okay. And I start walking with the plate. I'm just holding the plate and just licking the meat.
And, if we're traveling around and I happen to find some unattended money purses finding their way into my hands, then, I'm happy to go with that.
You definitely, there's lots of money purses, definitely. This is a target-rich environment, let me tell you. You got
how much trouble do we go for here?
Yeah, I was going to say, it's up to you as to whether, are you going to, so define unattended. Like, there's lots of,
Target rich, but definitely easy targets.
Okay. Let me have you make a couple of sleight of hands check, please.
Okay. Ooh. Okay.
That's another way to get the guards.
25?
Yeah, that is a great way to get the guard.
Wow.
Wow, that's a good roll, though.
23.
Wow, you're just like, pocket, like, you just hold up the packet of stuff. You're like, this is great. You have a couple that no problem at all. Like, you just pick a couple things. You're like, that's tomorrow's lunch. That's next week's dinner.
Hey, look what I went from a tourist's pocket.
Oh man, even with your still somewhat injured hand, you are still feeling pretty good about how you were able to do that. You were no problem at all. So you managed to grab this stuff off of them. River, in the meantime, you're having this just delicious. It is the best. Oh, it's so good. It is definitely 4 silver good. Urash, are you eating any of this meat or not?
No, I've given both to River.
Both to River. Okay. Are you doing anything with? So she's okay. So she's got the 2 plates, right? And she's just licking like the 2 plates, like trying to get to both plates. And Greta, in the meantime, you are all the way in the back or all the way in the front? Did you say?
I'm directly behind River, who's in the front.
Okay, so it goes River, you, Celsig, Urash, or River, you, Urash, Celsig?
I have the Weevil, so it's like River, then Weevil and me, then it's Celsig, then it's Urash.
Do you want me to take
How
the
much did
Weevil?
I actually win?
How much, say again?
How much did I actually win?
About 100 gold coins, 50 between each of them. Yep. 50
Man, I got
between each.
played.
I'm definitely so much walking in front of Celsig and not knowing what's going on behind me.
Right. Especially with those rolls. He's
Very,
like,
very much so.
Greta,
Yeah.
do you want me, in the interest of fairness, do you want me to carry the Weevil?
Maybe that's a good idea. We might lose him here.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Because I can keep an eye on him.
yeah. I just
How are you
Yeah.
carrying him?
Well, no, he's like in front of me because he's walking.
Okay.
essentially. Not carrying him.
I thought you were gonna like carry him above
He
your
is-
head.
No, that's all. Yeah, it's just.
Yeah. Like you're walking
He
through a
is
pool with
now
your.
Well, I'll be honest. That was my first impression. I
Okay.
did think, screw it, just.
Yeah.
But no, he's now my burden, so I line him in front of me.
All right. Okay. So you do so, and you guys push forward. Now, as you continue to make your way through the crowd, as I said, this festival is very, very busy, and eventually you get to a spot right around this main bridge. So you can see that there's 3 bridges leading to what looks sort of like looking like spokes of a wheel that are over there,
my
and
God.
there's bridge, and bridge, right? So the first
Yeah.
bridge that you come to, obviously that's the Hall of Justice is not over in that district, it's in this district, but it looks like this bridge might be a little bit less, less dense with people, and you might be able to get over to that district and then use that road and might be able to cut some stuff off, like basically cut some time off the trip. But it is, however, going out of your way. Or you could continue to just go straight along the road that goes to the south of these bridges, if you can see where that road is.
I'm in favor of straight along.
I reckon straight along.
I'm not moving until someone points me in a different direction. I have eyes on the plate.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, just walk on. Like you're like the donkey with the carrot. You just walk on.
Just walk on. Yep.
Okay, so you guys are continue to walk along that road. All right. Right when you get to between, there is the 2 bridges left and then center. Right as you get roughly in the road in between them, you pass a couple of buildings that look like inns or taverns. One of them has a creature with a dark black creature with a long tail and what looks like a stinger or a point on the end of it, and then 2 wings. And that's the sign that kind of hangs above the door. And down below, there's actually another sign, which is letters, which says the Winged Wyvern. And you see that down below there. And then the next building, which is, again, you're about halfway between between that and this next building, and you can see on the next corner there are several signs on top of this very large building, and the signs both have the symbol of what looks like a dragon asleep. Both of these are clearly like taverns or inns of some kind, but this one that you passed, the Winged Wyvern, looked to be maybe a little bit newer, but this one that's ahead of you is way larger. And right as you are walking past that area, there's a little space that clears up of people. And suddenly there is some commotion from the inside. The door to this big, huge thing that has the sleeping dragon thing opens, and some creature, at first you're not sure what, and then as your sight clears you can see that it's actually looks like some human, is thrown out on the street. And below them you can see that they have they're wearing some kind of dirty cape and cloak. They have a hat, a ridiculous poofy hat, which is currently off on the ground, and right next to them is a bag. And behind you hear someone gruffly say, "And that'll be the last of you. If I ever want you back in here, remind me to get my head examined first. And here, take your damn instrument." And he throws something, and hitting him on the head, the person on the ground, is what looks like this battered lute. And so people sort of stop, as this happens, and then continue to move because they've seen this happen before. But this all happened literally right in front of you. And there's a moment's pause, and then the guy looks up, sort of shaking his head. He says, "No one at all understands what it means to be an artist these days." He says, and he sees all the four of you, actually 5 counting the Weevil, and he says, "My friends, you've come at just the right time." Now, you have no idea who this is. And he says,
No.
"I can see from all of your faces that you are the kind of person that likes music. Am I right?" And he grabs the lute and sort of as much as spins to his feet as much as stands up and plays this. "Welcome, my friends. I am Diego Maradona." Now, he is not speaking with a Spanish accent. He's speaking with a British accent. And he says, "Diego Maradona, at your service."
Nope. And River, on we go.
No, it's constant music on your way.
He says, "No, wait. Now, before you go rushing off somewhere, there's no reason to be hasty. Perhaps you don't like
yes,
music.
there are many reasons to be hasty.
But I can be helpful to you. I can see that you're trying to get through these people. I can make that happen much faster. Clearly, you want to be done with whatever you're doing. I see you want to take your pet somewhere." He doesn't see that Weevil is on the other side of it, so he just sees the rope. "So I can see you want to take your pet somewhere. I can make that happen for you. My friends," and he turns around and he barks over the crowd, and everyone sort of stops and looks at him. "I am Diego Maradona, beloved of the Princess Adelaide, and the chief bard and king of Neverwinter. Well, not the king yet, but I am the bard, my friends. I am the greatest musician that has ever lived, and to prove it, I am going to clear this street with just one song." And so everyone is kind of staring at him, and he says, "It begins with this." Now, you guys, at this point, everyone is staring at you, because you're like right next to him as he's doing this, right? And so he does this, and he starts singing. "Bring ding ding, the people with me are strange and funny. Bring ding 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 ding. And I know that they will not want your money. Bring ding 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 ding. But if you do not want to fall afoul, bring ding 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 ding, then I must tell you that this one will howl." And he points at you, Urash, and he says, "For he is the deadly orc killer." And he stops, and everyone is sort of staring at him, and he says, "He killed the king himself, Kalila." And someone in the back says, "That's the king killer?" And people start to chat and yell, scream at each other.
Dear.
And they start to clear out of the way. "The king killer! Oh, don't get out of the way. No, you don't want the king killer. Oh, no, the king killer." So they all start to clear out of the way. And eventually there's a path just open for you. And
He called you Camilla. He gave you your woman's name.
And Diego says, points and he says, "My friends, the way is open to you. And I've provided you a reputation as well." And he waits.
Move.
So I'm going to send my companions on.
Okay.
So I'm assuming the
Ignore
river is just continuing walking.
Okay.
And I'm going to turn to, whilst they're a couple of paces away from me, I'm going to turn to this lively fellow and say, "You leave me and my friends alone, or I will rip you limb from limb." And I'm willing to make an intimidation check.
Okay, go ahead and do that.
Yep. Intimidation.
Come on.
Yes.
He's 7. He's like, he looks at you for a moment, then he says, "Oh, my friend, I understand your frustration, but the truth is, without me, you wouldn't be through this crowd so quickly, now would you? Now you can't go wrong if you're with Diego Maradona. The last thing that anyone needs is for a bard not to be with them. I can provide you a soundtrack to your life, and I can provide you a reputation that is needed. You can be the greatest villain or the greatest hero, and all of it lies in here." And he slaps the lute. "Within my lute, I have the power to command tears, anger, rage, sadness, grief, happiness, laughter, and occasionally an extra dinner or two. And all of that for the low, low price of bringing me with you." And he grins.
No, no.
Nope. Absolutely not having.
Can we eat him? I say as I finish my meal.
Yes, you can.
Yes.
Well, you are.
Yeah.
Well, wait a minute. You're not next to him right now.
Oh, I'm not.
Yeah,
Okay.
Urash is back there.
No, you can't.
He says, but would you turn
said
down
no.
Diego
I said no.
Maradona, beloved of Princess Adelaide, Bard of Neverwinter?
Yes, I would. Go away.
And he
I
says,
didn't even think about it.
I am both troubled and sad. I
Well, go
suppose
be troubled and stand over there. Go away.
I just wanted to help, and
Go.
that's all right, though.
Go.
I'm sure I could be fine
Right,
here.
I'm leaving him.
I'll
I'm
just be over here. It's okay, because if you want... And you start walking away, and he plays, "The sadness is real, bring the way that I feel,
I
bring
am paces away from him now.
Okay.
I am catching up.
So you leave behind the wailing, saddened
Don't
Diego
forget the
Maradona.
weevil.
I've sent him along with you guys. You guys have got him at the moment.
Okay, I've got the weevil. Let's move.
Go. Just go.
We're still walking. I did run out of meat though. I'm kind of sad about that.
Okay. River,
Right.
we need to exchange the weevil for money, then we can buy more meat.
Chat, by the way, is sad that you did not bring the bard with you. I just want you to know that Chat is troubled that you did not bring the bard. Okay.
That's fine.
So you arrive actually in fairly short order at the Hall of Justice, and as you go, you hear lots of whispering in the crowd about King killed the king.
Oh, no.
King killed.
Oh,
I don't
no.
know. Well, no one ever caught him. Maybe he's the king killer. Should anyone tell somebody? So that's all happening as you walk by. And eventually you find yourself at this large stone building with 2 guards in front who seem to be not messing around, armor and halberds and everything, and these heavy helmets. And they step forward as you come up to the building and they say, "Here, state your business."
We're here to collect the reward for capturing the weevil.
The Weevil. And
Yes.
you push forward the Weevil, who looks rather the worse for wear. Like he's had a rough go of it. So you push him forward, and one of them looks and says, "By the gods, it is the Weevil. Well. Brought to us right in the middle of festival, no less." The other one says, "Aye, perhaps our luck's looking up. Well, I don't know how you did it, but we're certainly grateful that you did. They'll want to talk to you inside. Here, come." And one of them sort of waves at you and comes in. And as they go, you hear, "King Killer!" Someone in the crowd, and then it's quickly silenced. Shh. As you go
If you
in.
take him away, we'll need a receipt until we get the reward.
No, he's bringing you in.
Okay.
He's asking all of you to come.
Okay.
We aren't leaving without a bag of gold.
Yep.
Okay, so you are brought inside, and then you're ushered into an office, and there is a person sitting behind a desk who has rather a stern expression. He's got round glasses, and he is looking down at a paper on which he is furiously scribbling. And as the guards enter with you, he says without looking up, "Yes?" And the guards say, "I'm sorry to bother you, sir, but we thought you'd want to see this." "I don't understand what this is all about. I've made very clear that I'm not to be and he looks up and he sees the Weevil sort of tied up, and he says, "Who is this?" And one of the guards says, "It's the Weevil, your lordship." And the man sort of stares and takes off his glasses for a moment, just kind of staring. "The Weevil? Is it really?" And he stands up and walks out from behind the desk, staring at the Weevil, and he says, well. I didn't expect that anyone would ever be able to track you down, Weevil. It's a pleasure to have you back here, except this time you won't be getting out. And he sort of grins. He says, this day is looking up already. All right, for you, and he points to the guards, take him downstairs. This time, load him down with so many chains that he can nigh breathe as be escaping. And the guards say, it'll be a pleasure, your lordship. And the Weevil kind of, sullenly looks at all of you through his, face, which is obviously still gagged, so he can't talk, and then is brought downstairs, is bustled off. And the one that remains says, it's a pleasure to have you here. My name is Lord Ardor. I am in charge of some administration of justice, at least during the daytimes. And, I certainly didn't expect to have one of the most wanted criminals in the Sword Coast brought to my very doorstep, but I am most grateful. I have to start, though, and ask you who exactly all of you are.
Concerned citizens.
I'm a ranger.
He looks here and says, a ranger.
My name is Greta Goldenfire. I'm a cleric of Foltus, and I see it as one of my responsibilities as a good citizen to apprehend dangerous criminals just as the Weevil. And so we brought him here and want to collect the reward.
He says, I'm most grateful to you. By the way, I just wanted to point out that actually goats in chat actually yelled King Killer from the crowd. Another one in chat was like, shh, quiet. It was really funny. Okay. He says, all right, Greta Goldenfire, a cleric. Well, certainly Foltus's light will shine brighter this day, I think. And, you, ranger, caught off your guard, perhaps. And he looks down at you and kind of, blinks and then says, all right, your name, sir?
Sel Sigmauer, protector of the King's lands.
And he takes in your outfit, which is, like armor, like daggers, no bow. You know what I mean? Like he just.
I've got a short bow.
Oh, you have a short bow. Okay, fair enough. You have a short bow. He takes in your outfit, and he's kind of like, I see you spent a great deal of time in the forest. And he kind of, looks at you, his eyes narrow.
Good to me.
He's currently unemployed.
He's currently, and
He's between forests.
Oh my god.
It's a funny story. I woke up one morning and he's gone.
Unenforested. All right. So he is. So he's like, right, an unemployed ranger, and then we have you, and he looks at you, Orash, and he says, I assume, and you'll tell me, I suppose, that you're a rogue.
Not quite, no. I'm a barbarian. My name's Urash. I'm from Palashuk.
He says, that sounds actually credible. And then he looks last at you, River. He says, and a dragonborn. What exactly are you for this group?
Emotional support.
He says, emotional support.
Yeah.
And he sees, by the way, that you still got in front of you the 2 plates of now like 3/4 eaten meat. So you're like, emotional support, holding up the 2 plates. And he's like, I see you've been enjoying the tastes of our festival.
She hasn't been to the big cities for a long time, so we are a little bit taking care of her and providing for her.
And he nods his head and he says, that's very admirable, to be sure. And
Yes.
He says, well, now you've said who you are and given me, I'm sure, all completely accurate information. And his eyes pause on you for a minute, Selsig. And then sort of glances over River for a moment. And then says, and I must tell you that you've done Neverwinter and in fact all the civilized areas of the Sword Coast a great service. The Weevil was not a man to be trusted and caused us no end of trouble in the past. We are most grateful, and there is indeed a reward for him. And he goes around behind his desk again, and he opens a drawer and he pulls out a rather, now not a huge sack, but a good-sized bag that jingles quite a bit. And he sort of lowers it on the counter there, and he says, you'll find in there a grand total of 500 silver. Quite a bit of coin, I would say. And, of course, there is the interest of this. And he pushes forward what looks like a set of 4 bottles, potion bottles of some kind. There seems to be something in each of them. And he says, as agreed, 4 potions of extra healing. Now, extra healing potions are basically more powerful than healing potions. And normally, I have to double check and actually see whether they come with 2 doses or just 1 dose. But in any case, each of them restores... Of course, I don't know that book. I'll tell you guys about it after the stream. Anyway, these are better healing potions, basically, if what he's saying is true. And they are very valuable because these things they can heal you quickly, actually, and they don't require Greta to have to do it if she's occupied with fire, let's say. And he says, this is worth a considerable amount, but it's worth it for the Weevil. And last of all, of course, and he pulls out this little piece of paper, which looks almost like, might be even like a ribbon, let's say, a purple ribbon, and he affixes it to each of your cloaks, like a little pin. He affixes it to each of your cloaks, and he says, this, of course, is just a little extra thank you from the city. This will give you the run of the festival. You can feel free to consume food as much as you wish. You can feel free to grab anything you like. It's entirely up to you. Now, of course, individual merchants do not have to honor this, but many of them will give you discounts if they see that you have been given the run of the festival, as we call it. Of course, this only applies to this year's festival, which will be going on for only another 3 days, but I'm sure you can find quite a bit to do in that time. We are very much appreciative for your work.
Thank you very much, sir. Do you also know if there is any kind of hotel which might still have free rooms despite the festival?
He says, well, under most circumstances, I would say that all of the inns were likely to be used up. However, and he pulls out a piece of blank parchment, and he scribbles something on it, and he says, here, if you give this to the tavern owner, the head of the tavern owner at the Sleeping Dragon Inn, it's right down that road that you just left, you'll be able to find perhaps a room open up for you that might not be there otherwise. Tell them that I made it clear, again his name is Lord Arter, remember, I made it clear that you were to be put up, and frankly, they should be able to put you up at a very low cost. So,
thank you.
All right, and you guys are then going to depart?
I'm happy with that. I don't know if anybody else is.
All right. As you turn to walk out with River and Celsic and Greta, 2 guards come in. And between them is a man, and behind him is someone rather familiar to you. The man points at you, Urash, and says, "That's him, my lord. It's the King Killer. I heard him say it." And behind, sort of sneaking up right over him, sort of waving at you, hello, is Diego Maradona the Bard. And it is there, I think, that we will put this session to an end, as we are now in Neverwinter.
Crap.
Lots of progress, though. Lots of progress. That was a lot of fun, guys. Lots of progress, and it's good to see how you guys operate in a street festival in Neverwinter. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. I'm going to start with River down below because we do have to give way to Lovelust in just a couple minutes here. So I will start with Tasty Chai. As always, a lot of fun chai. We're starting to see more development, which won't always just be about food, but we're starting to see more development of River's character, which was a lot of fun. So where will the fine people see you next?
I will actually be streaming on my own channel in about 10 minutes, just as soon as we're done, and I can grab a bite to eat, ironically. I will be playing Kingdom Come Deliverance over there for the rest of the night. And I stream here on GOG on Sundays.
Lovely, lovely. It was great to have you. Thank you as always, Chai. It was great, and we will see you in our next session. Moving right up the line, of course, Mike, Screaming Joypad, great job today. It was a lot of fun. Urash got a chance to, spread his wings a little bit and get to be accused of being a king killer. So it's been an eventful session for him. Where will the fine people see you next, sir?
I cannot wait to see how this plans out. I think it's going to be absolutely fine, and there's not going to be any negative consequences whatsoever. And yeah, as always, it's been an absolute pleasure to play with everybody. Fantastic group. It's one of the groups that I've played with Arv, and they're all fantastic. To be honest with you, absolutely adore D&D. Enjoy every single session. If you want to find more information out about me, you can follow me on Twitch, though I don't really stream anymore. Best place if I'm going to be doing anything is to follow me on Twitter at ScreamingJoyPad, where you can find out the latest and greatest from myself.
Outstanding. Good stuff, man, as always. And you will see him again on Saturday with the Infinity and Beyond crew as we continue the rise of Tiamat. So that should be a good time as well. Moving right up on down. Yes, I can speak. Right on up the line. That is, of course, Darksaber 2K. Great job today as Celsig. We got to see more of his development. Somebody in chat said, I don't know if you caught it, that you're going to keep saying you're a ranger so much you'll accidentally multi-class. Like, you just be like, you'll suddenly be a ranger. And you're just like, I do love the forest, you know? But great stuff today, man. Where will the fine people see you next?
You can catch me right here on GOG tomorrow evening, where, funny enough, I will also be playing Kingdom Come Deliverance.
Oh, good God.
It's a great game. It really is. That's the thing. It's so much fun. And you can always catch me on my own channel. That's funny enough, I've actually scheduled an extra stream here on GOG this week to do Kingdom Come, because it's a big game as well.
So lots of gaming coming on from the Kingdom Come
yeah.
Deliverance side of things. All right, cool stuff, man. That's great. It was a good time, and I'm looking forward to next session already with Celsig. And last but certainly not least, also a lot of fun from... I always like the way that Pyron is able to render... Thank you, Matthias, for the follow, GOG. I always like the way that Pyron's able to render Greta's sort of like slightly bemused, like always, what is going on with these people? Like, but generally I still kind of like them even though I don't know half the time what they're doing. I always like the way that you play that, so it was fun to see that happen. Where will the fine people see you next?
The fine people will not see me next, I have to admit, because I have not scheduled another stream on GOG.com currently, because real life is keeping me so busy.
I know that feel.
I've got lots of like adult stuff going on, which is taking up all my time. I hope to get back to streaming soon, but it's really difficult. But you can still follow me on Twitter, where I will tell you if I'm streaming next, and I also retweet stuff and just write things in a few lines there and stuff. So yeah, maybe see me there, and otherwise sometimes in chat here on GOG.com, and well, next D&D stream here, of course.
Yes, which is going to be awesome. And the answer to your question about, we only do one session a month here, and the main reason is because it's super late for 3 of the 4 players, because, they're on European time zones, and so it's super late for them, so they have to plan ahead. Obviously, if it were up to me, I'd love to play all the time, because once again, and with feeling, this is the best game ever made. But obviously, we can't, we have to, it's not easy to do that schedule-wise. But we have been able to be consistent about playing every month, which is cool, and we're going to be able to be back with this full party of full crew next month, so we will have a lot more going on, and they are making progress. It's just
yeah, I think we're covering 4 different time zones right now.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it's in a way, it's awesome. It's so awesome that we're in a point of time in history where we can do that. But at the same time, time zones are a thing, so we have to be aware of that for everybody. But it was a pleasure as always, Pyron, and I look forward to whenever you are able to start streaming again. But in the meantime, it was great to have all of you guys there. My super enthusiastic crew. Really enjoy playing with you guys always, and I will see you all in this context anyway, next month. So, Pyron, Darksaber, Mike, and Chai, thank you guys so much. Jack, we get some love for the players, and I will see you guys soon. Bye-bye. Alrighty. Okay, guys, that is going to do it for us for tonight. This was awesome. I had a great time. I hope you guys had as good a time as I did, because like I said, it was awesome. It is the best game ever made, and blah, 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 blah. It's really cool. But I am now going to give way to Loveless. Just give me a second as I sign out of that. I love the music, but really. But yes, I'm going to be giving way to Lovelust Games, who is going to be playing... Lovelust, what are you playing? Oh, Blockhood, now I know, is going to be playing Blockhood, so definitely stick around. It's always fun to watch Lovelust play. I've always enjoyed Lovelust's demeanor on stream. I think she always just has a really cool, chill vibe that she delivers, which is really awesome. So you should stick around for her. If you like what you saw and heard here, please make sure to follow GOG.com. Please sub to the channel. Please make sure to check out all the individual streamers. For those of you who followed here, for those of you who followed on my own channel, and for Gigafrost, who actually subbed on my channel while I was streaming over here, thank you so much. I will be back here next Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern, not 5 p.m., because Europe will finally be on Daylight Savings Time as well next week. So I will be back at 4 p.m. Eastern with episode 119 of Pen and Pixels, continuing my Divinity Original Sin 2 playthrough. And then, so that's the deal with that. However, if you were interested, I will be on my channel on Friday night playing at 8 p.m. Eastern, playing the second session of Esper Genesis, which is an officially sponsored campaign from the company that makes it, Alligator Alley Entertainment. It is a science fiction space opera edition based on D&D 5th edition rules. So it's basically Star Wars meets Phantasy Star meets meets Mass Effect. So it's really cool. And we've had one session already. Second session is going to be this coming Friday, and it's awesome. So if you want to get in on the ground floor and check it out as we play the fall of the Eos Keldor, you should definitely stop by and check it out. But that's going to do it for me. Stick around here. I'll see you guys either on this channel next week, Tuesday at 4 p.m. for Divinity Original Sin 2, or on my channel this coming Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern, when I'll be continuing with Esper Genesis, which would be awesome. Thank you all so much to all the wonderful GOG people. Thank you guys for having so much fun with us. And thank you, as always, for being great GOG people, because that's what you are. Stick around for Love Lust. Love you all, and I will catch you all very, very soon. Until then, have a good night. Bye for now.